Good evening, everybody. Happy Monday. I would like to call the Durham City Council meeting to order for this, the 12th day of October, year 2023. We certainly want to welcome all of you all here tonight who are with us in chambers, and we welcome those who are joining us remotely as well. If you would please join me in a moment of silent meditation. Thank you. We now recognize Councilwoman Freeman, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
It's our practice to stand and salute the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, if you will please call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mayor O'Neill.
I am here.
Mayor Pro Tem Middleton.
I'm here.
Councilmember Caballero.
Here.
Councilmember Freeman.
Present.
Councilmember Holsey-Hyman.
Present.
Councilmember Johnson.
Here.
And Councilmember Williams.
I'm here.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move to our ceremonial items, and item number 1 is a Minority Enterprise Development Week proclamation, which will be read by Councilwoman Freeman.
Thank you. It is an honor to highlight the Enterprise Development Week. Whereas one of the City of Durham's primary goals is to have a strong and diverse economy which reduces poverty and enhances the quality of life of its citizens, and whereas the ingenuity, innovation, and tenacity of many minority and women entrepreneurs and are shining examples of the 2023 Minority Enterprise Development Week theme, empowering change and breaking barriers. And whereas minority and women businesses are key components of the city, state, and national economy, and are essential to stabilizing our current economic circumstances and our future prosperity. And whereas the City of Durham is committed to the ongoing evaluation of its policies, procedures, and practices so that its business is conducted in a manner that ensures minority and women businesses receive equitable access to all available opportunities. And whereas minority and women entrepreneurs are to be honored not only as a valued resource for the provision of goods and services, but as vital to our economic success. Now, therefore, I, Elaine M. O'Neill, Mayor of the City of Durham, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim October 2nd through the 6th, 2023 as Minority Enterprise Development Week in the City of Durham, and hereby urge all citizens to take special note of this observance, participate in many scheduled activities, fully utilize the wide array of minority and women-owned businesses, enterprises in our community, witness my hand in the corporate seal of the City of Durham, North Carolina, this the 2nd day of October 2023. And this is to be presented to Shayla Fawcett, the Deputy CFO and of the Business Service Administrators.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor O'Neill, Mayor Pro Tem Middleton, City Council members, City Manager Page, and our participants in the audience today. I am Sheila Fawcett, the Deputy CFO, And I have with me here today Sydney Anderson, our underutilized business compliance services administrator. Sydney, would you stand? We work with Tim Floor, the finance director and CFO in the finance department, and since 1983, the U.S. President has proclaimed a Minority Enterprise Development Week observance to recognize the outstanding accomplishments of minority businesses and to honor those corporations and financial institutions supporting minority business development. The theme for today in Durham for MedWeek of 2023 is Empowering Change and Breaking Barriers. We will have events this Thursday and Friday at the Durham County Human Services Building. We would like to let you know that we will have educational, outreach, and recognition events that will celebrate the achievements of minority businesses that will affirm our commitment to the principle of equal opportunity. We invite you to join us and Mayor Pro Tem Middleton, who will be giving the State of Durham address. Lastly, we would like to encourage all Durham residents to support our minority and women-owned businesses that are essential to our economy and to keeping Durham a great place to live, work, and play. Again, we appreciate the proclamation, and we look forward to the possibility of seeing you all at our events at MedWeek on Thursday and Friday of this week. Thank you.
Mayor O'Neill. Mayor O'Neill.
Mayor O'Neill? Thank you, ma'am. All right, we'll do it this way. So as I started commenting over the last 2 years of my life, you know, there have been many moments that have been great moments. I've enjoyed my time as a public servant in this capacity, but tonight is a really, really special night, I believe, for me personally, but not just for me, the city of Durham, the county of Durham, and the state of North Carolina, where we take time to honor 4 giants, 4 living legends, people who have given so much of their lives to public service. The people that we are about to honor tonight with keys to the city have given over close to 200 years of public service. Being a public servant is by no means an easy job. And they are supported by family who have given just as much, if not more, for their loved ones to shine in the public light. And so we pay honor not only to these 4 giants for what they've done, but we pay honor to their families as well and friends that you've allowed them to mean so much to us. The first lady that we will honor tonight is Dr. E. Lavonia Allison.
Recording in progress.
Now, if you don't know what the E stands for, you're not going to learn it tonight. But Dr. Lavonia Allison is so special to so many people and has given so much of her life in the fight for equality and justice for all in so many arenas. And so we wanted to take this opportunity to present her with this proclamation and a key to the city of Durham. Whereas Dr. E. Lavonia Allison, a Durham native, you come around this way so they can see it. A graduate of the great Hillside High School, Hampton Institute, now Hampton University, and doctorate for New York University. She is a trailblazing community leader, activist, businesswoman, educator, and community leader whose career has spanned over 60 years. And whereas Dr. E. Lavonia Allison, who grew up in the historic Stokesdale community, is a well-known former chair of the Durham Committee on the Affairs of Black People and the only woman to hold the position. She has worked to back the Black community in Durham through empowerment and equality. And whereas Dr. Allison was selected to be the first vice chair of the Durham County Democratic Party in 1968, marking one of her first leadership roles in political organizing, and whereas Dr. Allison is Chair Emeritus for Shepherd Middle School, Chair of Precinct 42, a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and whereas Dr. Allison is the go-to person during many critical national, statewide, and local Durham elections, and whereas her exceptional skills in organizing and mobilizing the community have served the Durham community well and have earned her many awards, accolades, and honors for her work. And whereas Dr. E. Lavonia Allison's commitment and dedication to local and national politics, mentoring, and civil engagement will serve as a legacy and roadmap for others. Now, therefore, I, Elaine M. O'Neill, Mayor of the City of Durham, North Carolina, proclaim October 2nd as Dr. E. Lavonia Allison Day in Durham, and hereby urge all residents to take note of this observance, witness my hand and the corporate seal of the City of Durham, this the second day of October 2023. Dr. Allison. And we're going to let you all have comments as soon as we present all the keys, okay? So we'll let you all have comments right after then. 2 minutes, please, or less. All right.
You want to? I have the high honor and distinct privilege of reading the proclamation in the mayor's voice for the Honorable Judge Orlando F. Hudson. I'll ask that he'll come up. First time I'm giving the judge an order. Proclamation. Whereas Judge Orlando F. Hudson, a North Carolina native, is an influential public figure, accomplished community leader, former associate attorney, assistant public defender, assistant district attorney, district court judge, and retired as a senior resident superior court judge whose career spanned over 4 decades. And whereas Judge Orlando F. Hudson, Jr. is a former president of the North Carolina Conference of Superior Court Judges, has extensive knowledge of the law, and his dedication to preparedness and ability to remain neutral have been witnessed on a national stage during high-profile cases. And whereas, at a moment of social justice, he lent his voice to the importance of transparency in the judicial system. He served as an advocate for televised trials to spark discussions on both implicit and explicit bias. And whereas Judge Orlando F. Hudson Jr.'s extensive legal knowledge, and experience have solidified him as a visionary, public servant, and leader. And whereas Judge Orlando F. Hudson Jr.'s expertise has earned him many accolades, including the North Carolina Advocate for Justice Outstanding Trial Judge and the Durham County Bar Association Distinguished Service Award. And whereas his commitment and dedication to fairness and transparency will serve as a legacy and a roadmap for others. Now, therefore, I, Elaine M. O'Neill, Mayor of the City of Durham, North Carolina, proclaim October 2nd as Judge Orlando F. Hudson Jr. Day in Durham, and urge all residents to take note of this observance. Witness my hand and the corporate seal of the City of Durham, the second day of October 2023, Elaine M. O'Neill, Mayor. Congratulations, sir.
The Honorable William Bell. Mayor Bell. This is your house, Mayor. You know this is your house. Whereas William V. Bell, who served as Mayor of Durham from 2001 to 2017. Is an influential public figure, accomplished engineer, public servant, retired first lieutenant in the United States Army Signal Corps, former chair and county commissioner, graduate of Atkins High School, Howard University, and New York University. And whereas William V. Bell has been awarded many honors, his dedication to the revitalization of Durham during his tenure earned him the Design Life Award from North Carolina State University, which celebrates the role of design and the arts in improving lives in the community, and presented the highest civil award in North Carolina, the Order of Longleaf Pine, by Governor James B. Hunt. And whereas deciding to step back from public office and did not lessen his fidelity to improving Durham and the Southeast, he was elected chairman of the North Carolina Railroad Company Board of Directors and is a board member of the North Carolina Central University Board of Trustees. And whereas William V. Bell's extensive degree of education, expertise, creative vision, and ability to command a room have solidified him as a visionary, public servant, and leader. And whereas William V. Bell's commitment and dedication to mentoring and creating opportunities will serve as a legacy and roadmap for others to follow. Now, therefore, I, Elaine M. O'Neill, Mayor of the City of Durham, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim October 2nd as William V. Bell Day in Durham and urge all residents to take note of this observance. Witness my hand and the corporate seal of the City of Durham, this the second day of October 2023.
It's my high honor and distinct privilege in the mayor's voice to read the proclamation for the Honorable H.M. Mickey Michaux, Jr. I'll ask the Dean to come up. Whereas the Honorable H.M. Mickey Michaux, Jr., a Durham, North Carolina native, is an influential civil rights activist, accomplished businessman, attorney, public servant, and community leader whose career has spanned over 60 decades. And whereas H.M. Mickey Michaux Jr. became Durham County's first black representative in the North Carolina State Legislature and was one of the longest serving members of the North Carolina General Assembly. And whereas Mickey Michaux became the first African-American United States attorney in the South since Reconstruction, when he was appointed to head the office in the Middle District of North Carolina. And whereas H.M. Mickey Michaux Jr. has been awarded many honors, Representative Michaux was inducted into the Black College Alumni Hall of Fame. Governor Roy Cooper awarded Michaux the highest civil award in North Carolina, the Order of the Longleaf Pine, for his public service. And whereas the Honorable H.M. Mickey Michaux Jr.'s commitment and dedication to civil justice, mentoring, and activism will serve as a legacy and a roadmap for others. Now, therefore, I, Elaine M. O'Neill, Mayor of the City of Durham, North Carolina, proclaim October 2nd as the Honorable H.M. Mickey Michaux Jr. Day in Durham and urge all residents to take note of this observance. Witness my hand and the corporate seal of the City of Durham, this the second day of October 2023. Elaine M. O'Neill, Mayor. Congratulations, sir.
Well, first of all, if anybody knows me, I'm brief. I know these people got a meeting to carry on this evening. I just want to say to the mayor pro tem, members of the city council, city staff, this is indeed a very high honor for me. If any of you know me, I've gotten a few awards, but none of them at my house. If you came to my house, you'd never see them because my wife wouldn't live there at my office. This one's going to be at the house, up on the mantle, so everybody can see it. But seriously, I've truly enjoyed the time that I've been able to spend in Durham. Certainly the last 16 years on the city council is a very important part of our life and one I will always cherish. And I will cherish this moment. And I want to say thank you again for the people of Durham for allowing me to serve as one of your elected officials. Thank you.
With some help. Thank you very, very much. I'd like to first say we've been on a freedom train. I need to be over here? Okay. Speaking to the mic. No, I'm speaking to this mic? Yes. There you go. Oh, Thank you very much. I'm so very pleased and thankful to have this opportunity to thank our mayor. I've known her since one day I heard her speak at Rogersher. She wasn't even running for anything. I went up to her and told her that we got to get you doing something. So actually, we've been on a freedom train, trying to, in fact, get racial equity, trying to, in fact, make this world a better place for all of God's children to live. The only thing I want to say, I thank this honor, but this honor belongs to everybody out there in the audience. All of the people who have helped us achieve what we have achieved. Part of it, we all know we've had some wins and we've had some losses, but we got some more wins that we're gonna have. All we've got to do is find out how we can come together. I want to just say, it used to be a time, the Durham Committee, the NAACP, and the Interdenominational Line, I can't even get it out, Alliance. Anytime we came out, the three organizations, when we get them back, plus some others, all of the Ebonies, the Links, I can name them all. So thank you, thank you. Everybody pat yourself on the back, because it's your honor. It's not mine. It's all of us who have helped the achievements that we have made. Thank you so much.
Come on, Judge.
Thank you to the people in the city and county of Durham who supported me for so many years, supported me in all my elections. We won it every time. My campaign manager, Butch Williams. I want to thank my wife, Marilyn Foot Hudson. Marilyn, if you just stand for a second, of 43 years. Thank you. And the city's council is correct. Your family lives and dies with you. All my family is here to support me tonight. We're not going to go through every one of them, but my family, made up of the Powells and the Pridgeons and the Troys. If you all will stand, just stand. Thank you. Thank you for your support. Thank you very much. Of course, Mickey Michaux, everybody loves Mickey Michaux. I have a particular love for Mickey because he made me a judge. He drew the district that I have. He shakes his head. I don't care about shaking your head. I know. I know because I was, well, you were in my house when you drew the map of my judicial district. But thank you very much. Mickey, you were one of the first people that I told I was going to retire. And I'm going to tell you all, he didn't like it. He didn't like it, not one bit. And he said, well, you know, I'm kind of old now. I'm not as young as I used to be, but I don't remember you turning 80. I said, I'm not 80. Mickey, but Mickey said, that's when you're supposed to retire. You're supposed to retire when you're 80. I appreciate that about Mickey. We had a lot of, where's his brother? Yeah, there he is. Yeah, 100. You and Mickey have been lawyers for 100 years. Thank you very much, Mickey Michaux. I wish I could have done about 20 more years, but I can't do it as long as you did, and that's what Mickey told me. Mickey told me, I want you to be a judge in Durham as long as I was in the legislature in North Carolina. Those of you who don't know about Mickey being the oldest, longest serving legislature in the history of the state of North Carolina, that meant I was supposed to be there for 80 years. Thank you, Mickey.
The Honorable H.M. Michaux.
You know, it's a dangerous thing that happens. You give a lawyer and a politician a microphone, and you're really in trouble. But no, I just want to thank the city of Durham, not only for giving me this award, but for allowing me to serve them, the city and the county, in the state legislature. At the time, you don't know this. Yeah, I got mad when you retired because you retired before I did. But the other thing is, where did Bill go? Oh, okay, Bill. Bill and I used to stand out on the street corner in the neighborhood with Willie Lovett talking politics. And when Bill got on the county commissioners, they had to run every 2 years. And I told him the first thing I was going to do when I got to the legislature was change that rule so the county commissioners had to run every 4 years. And I told Bill, I told Bill that when he retired from public service, I was going to retire at the same time he retired. And we both did at the same time. But let me just say this shortly. Having given some years of public service, it's been my pleasure to have met people, to have talked with them, to have learned things, to have participated, gone to jail a couple of times for doing things that I was supposed to not have done, but understood this. There are 3 things that I learned. First, I didn't go to Hillside, unfortunately. I went to Whittier Elementary School. I went to Palmer Memorial Institute where a little black lady told me before Jesse Jackson told me I was somebody. And that left with me a long impression. And that's another story because Dr. Brown was probably the biggest con artist you'd ever want to meet. She got the white folks in New England to help build that school to teach black kids how to become fine waiters, waitresses, you know, that type of thing. Didn't know that she was down here teaching us liberal arts. It took me 2 years to translate Homer's Iliad from Latin to English. So, but anyway, she was the one that told me I was somebody. But 3 things, folks. In Dante's Inferno, there's a saying that states this: the hottest places in hell are reserved for those who take a position of neutrality in the face of a moral crisis. Now, you better keep that in mind because right now we are on the cusp of a moral crisis in this country. The second thing is that there's a creed that I learned. It goes like this. I seek opportunity, not security. I do not wish to be a kept citizen, humbled and dulled by having the state look after me. I want to take the calculated risk to dream and to build, to fail and to succeed. I will never cower before any master nor bend to any threat. It is my heritage to stand erect, proud, unafraid, think for myself, and say to the world, this I have done. Last, and before, I want to give thanks to this beautiful young lady sitting right here, my wife, who's pushed me to the point that, you know, I say, either I'm gonna have to do what you say do, or I'm gonna have to leave. But anyway, the final thing is that the other day I was reminded of the revelation of Pearly Victorious. And I learned this a long time when Ossie Davis and Ruby Dee were playing that role in the musical Pearly Victorious on Broadway. And at the white plantation owner's funeral, Pearly preached the sermon, the eulogy, and in closing, this was Pearly's benediction. Tonight, my friends, I find in being black a thing of beauty, a joy, a secret cup of gladness, a native land in neither time nor place, a native land in every black person's face. Be loyal to yourself, your eyes, your lips, your speech, your southern kindness. A black person's kingdom is vast as any other. Accept and full the sweetness of your blackness, not wishing to be white, nor red, nor yellow, nor any other race or face but this. Farewell, my deep and Africanic brothers and sisters. Be brave. Keep freedom in the family and do what you can for the white folks. And write me in care of the post office. And now, may the Constitution of the United States go with you, the Declaration of Independence stand by you, and the Bill of Rights protect you. And may your own dreams be your only boundaries, henceforth, now, and forever.
Friends in the chamber, on behalf of Her Honor the Mayor, my council colleagues, this has been a historic night that history will record as a great night in Durham. We want to just take a brief pause to allow our guests of honor and their families to depart. You can stay if you want, but my suspicion is that you don't want to stay for the rest of the meeting. So just a suspicion. So we're going to take a brief pause, and Her Honor is going to escort the guests out, and then we will proceed when the chamber's in order. Thank you. Thank you so much, and congratulations to all our honorees.
All right. Okay, everybody, we're going to go ahead with our agenda, for this evening. And we will now turn for announcements by council. I'll look to my left first for any council announcements. No announcements? Councilman.
Yeah, just thank you, Madam Mayor. It's been great to see some folks coming out to vote. Make sure you all engage in the civic process, just for us in the room as well as those out and about. Thank you.
To my right to see if we have any announcements. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening, ma'am, to you again and to my honorable colleagues, to everyone in the chamber watching on platform. This very briefly, Madam Mayor, this week is the National Week Without Driving Challenge. Our friends at Bike Durham, in partnership with a number of organizations, some of them national, have issued a challenge to try and negotiate our city as much as you can, those that take the challenge without using a motor vehicle. I have often said that one of the thresholds a city has to cross in order for it to be considered truly great is that the city can be negotiated without a car. Folk need to be able to access culture and healthcare and education without a car. And of course, Durham is a city on the ascent and emergent, and we are heading towards that. So today I was pleased. I want to shout out to the drivers that go Durham. Had been a minute since I've been on Durham public transportation, but took my number 2 bus to work today. Nice, clean, comfortable ride with Wi-Fi. And I want to shout out the drivers. But before I got on the bus, I had to walk 1.3 miles to the bus stop to get to it. We need to close some gaps in terms of accessibility, route expansion, infrastructure. Imagine doing that if you're disabled, or it's bad weather, or with children, or lugging groceries. And some of the things we take for granted, just jumping in our cars and going, is really being brought home this week. So I want to shout out to my fellow electeds around the state and the county and the city who have also taken the challenge. I want to thank the mayor for issuing a proclamation for this week that we'll be reading sometime this week and presenting to our friends at Bike Durham and other organizations. And I want to send a call out to Durham residents. Go Durham, try our public transportation, make a plan and try it. They're great buses, there's Wi-Fi on them, and we've got to start using it to build in the plausibility of building it up to where it needs to be. So many of our residents, almost 20,000 of our residents today ride the bus. They depend on it, and I'm so proud that the city has continued to keep our public transportation fare free, and knock on wood or Formica, whatever this is, hopefully we can keep that going as long as possible. Thank you to our friends at Bike Durham. Thanks to all of those that are taking the challenge. Shout out to Reality Ministries as well, who issued a wonderful video describing this week, and my thanks to the mayor as well for her proclamation. I yield back, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and that was really good to walk 1.5 miles to catch the bus. You got your exercise on today. Old school steps. All right, Councilwoman Freeman, any announcements?
Yes, thank you. I apologize. I just wanted to make sure I take a moment to acknowledge both Breast Cancer Awareness Month and Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Just acknowledging that the violence we can not control, but we can support those who are facing domestic violence. And then I just wanted to just make sure I take a note here for Dr. E. Lavonia Allison, that she has received the Order of the Longleaf Pine twice, in 1983 and 1995. And as a woman of those times, I can only imagine how fierce she must have been at that time in order to get that acknowledgement. That's all. Thank you.
Yes, Councilman Williams, thank you.
Yeah, also wanted to bring awareness that it's Digital Inclusion Week, which raises awareness on the importance of digital equity and access. That's a really important matter in our community, so I wanted to bring that to light. Thank you.
Councilwoman Caballero.
Thank you. Along with municipal elections, it's also participatory voting time. So please, please, please look up participatory voting for Durham. Also, we have pop-up events. I've seen them out at a couple events already. All Durham City residents age 13 and over are allowed to vote in participatory budgeting, and it is open until October 31st. This is your chance to tell the city how you want us to spend $2.8 million. I've already voted, and 2 of my 3 kids have already voted. I've got to get my husband and my youngest to vote. So I am encouraging all of you, and I also want to shout out Durham Public Schools, because I know our PB staff is working diligently to make sure DPS students get to vote.
Thank you to all of my colleagues for your announcements this evening. I only have one announcement, and that is that I will not be here on October the 19th or November 6th. I'll be handling some other city business for you all. So I think the 19th is a work session. The 6th is a council meeting, and would like for you all to excuse me on those dates. October 19th and November 6th, and you would have the gavel on those dates, Pro Tem.
I'd like to make a motion to excuse the mayor for October 19th and November 6th.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. All those in favor, if you would sign by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed have the same right. Hearing none, that motion passes. Thank you all for the time away to conduct some business outside of the council meetings. Now I would like to recognize our city manager for any priority items she may have.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, members of the Durham City Council. I do have 2 priority items for you. The first one is the City of Durham will observe National Night Out tomorrow. That will be Tuesday, October 3rd, with a kickoff celebration at 4 p.m. in the parking lot of the Durham Police Department complex. That address is 602 East Main Street. Secondly, agenda item number 6, request to carry over funding from fiscal year 2022-23 to fiscal year 2023-24, amend the fiscal year 2023-24 budget, other capital improvement plan project ordinances, and internal service fund spending plans. This item was referred back to the Budget and Management Services Department. Thank you, and that is all I have for you this evening.
Thank you, Madam City Manager. I now turn to our City Attorney, Ray Berg, for any priority items she may have.
Good evening, Mayor O'Neill, Mayor Pro Tem Middleton, and members of the council. It's good to see you. The City Attorney's Office has no priority items this evening.
Thank you, Attorney Ray Berg. I now recognize our City Clerk for any priority items she may have.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The City Clerk's Office has no priority items tonight.
Thank you so much. We will now turn to our second order of business, which is the consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of items that the council has previously considered in a work session. All items on the consent agenda may be approved by a single vote of the council. Items may be removed from the consent agenda by a council member or a member of the public, and those items will be considered separately at the end of the meeting tonight. I will read the entire agenda, beginning with the consent agenda at this time. Item number 1 is the Durham Housing Authority Board of Commissioners appointment. Number 2, the Mayor's Hispanic Latino Committee appointments. 3, approval of City Council minutes. Item 4, August 2023 bid report. Item 5, fiscal year end 2023 inventory performance audit, August 2023. Item 7, it's the American Rescue Plan Act ARPA project strengthening of Durham nonprofits. Number 8, contract with North Carolina Coalition to End Homelessness, NCCEH, to provide homeless management information systems lead agency services. Item 9, cemetery ordinance revisions and project updates. Number 10, extension of lease between City of Durham and LRC-GB LLC at 807 East Main Street, Golden Belt Suite 5100 for the Office of Economic and Workforce Development. Item 11, the resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a lease and license agreement with Cellco Partnership doing business as Verizon Wireless at 1701 Coal Mill Road. Number 12, it's the American Rescue Plan Act Coronavirus State Local Fiscal Recovery Funds subaward agreement with Central Pines Regional Council of Government for administration of the Durham Solarized Low to Moderate Income Program. 13, Ellerby Creek Rookery Dedicated Nature Preserve. 14, Contract Amendment 3 with CMTA of Kentucky, Inc. for the Durham Performing Arts Center HVAC Phase 2 project. Item 15, Purchase Contract with Brady Train Service, Inc. for the Durham Performing Arts Center Phase 2 HVAC project. Item 16 is the supplemental agreement number 2 to master agreement number 18919 with Stantec Consulting Services, Inc. for multimodal improvement design services. 17, municipal agreement with the North Carolina Department of Transportation for NC 98 and Lynn Road intersection improvements, TIP number HS-2005N. Item 18, it's the Triangle Land Conservancy, how you pronounce it?
Conservancy.
Thank you. South Fork Forest Watershed Protection Project authorization to fund. I'm not proclaiming to be the smartest thing all the time. Item 19, contract amendment number 1 to the professional engineering services contract with Kimberly Horn and Associates, Inc. for the 2021 lift station improvements, Group B lift stations project. We turn to our public hearings. Item 22 is a proposed ordinance to adopt updated capital facility fees. Item 23 is the Consolidated Annexation Sagebrook. Item 24 is the Consolidated Annexation Brier Creek ACT. Item 25 is Consolidated Annexation Smallwood Townhouses. All right, we have no items that were pulled. So at this point in time, I am ready to entertain a motion to approve the consent.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by Councilwoman Freeman, seconded by Councilman Williams. Madam Clerk, if you will open the vote. And if you will please close the vote and report out.
The motion passes 7-0.
All right, thank you. We will now turn to our public hearings. And we will begin with item 22, which is the proposed ordinance to adopt updated capital facility fees. And this is to conduct a public hearing at this time. And I'll turn it over to Mr. Green. Good evening.
Facility fees. The capital facility fees are one-time charges for new development based on meter size. North Carolina General Statutes 168A, Article 8, provides for uniform authority to implement system development fees for public water and wastewater systems in North Carolina. These fees are referred to as capital facility fees by the City of Durham. In order to charge these fees, local governments must perform a capital facility fee analysis every 5 years. The City of Durham last analyzed its capital facility fees in 2018. The city contracted with Reftelis Financial to perform an updated analysis, and the report is attached to the agenda item. The statutes reference 3 different methodologies that can be used to calculate the capital facility fees. Local governments select the method that most closely matches their projected growth and capital needs. The City of Durham chose to use the capacity buy-in method. This method allows the city to recover costs for investments the city has already made for new development. A letter to industry was sent on August 18, 2023, notifying the development community of the proposed updated fees and a link to the report. As of this date, the department has received only a handful of inquiries about the proposed fees. In order to consider adopting new capital facility fees, a public hearing must be held, and all the proper notices were given. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You have heard the report from our staff. I will now declare this public hearing to be open and will first entertain questions and comments from the council, if any. All right, we have no one signed up on the internet or either in person to speak on this item. So we will allow the record to reflect that no one else has requested to speak on this item, and I will now declare this public hearing to be closed, and the matter is back before the council. Any further discussion from my colleagues? All right, we have a motion to consider, and that is to adopt an ordinance revising the city's capital facility fees for water and sewer service as authorized by City of Durham Code of Ordinances, Section 70-50, and to make the required changes to Part 15-103A capital facility fees of the city's fee schedule effective January 1st, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilman Williams, seconded by Councilwoman Holsey-Hyman. Madam Clerk, if you will open the vote. And if you will close the vote and report out.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Greenlee. Right, we will now move to our next item, which is item 23, Consolidated Annexation, Sagebrook. And I believe we have several speakers signed up, and we will first hear from our applicant, who will be Mr. Randy Herman. Oh, staff first, I'm sorry. Staff first. Go staff. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor O'Neill, Mayor Pro Tem Middleton, honorable council members, Alexander Cahill with the Planning Department. 2 items before we begin. Staff wants to first state for the record that all Planning Department hearing items have been advertised and noticed in accordance with state and local law, and affidavits of these notices are available on file in the Planning Department and available upon request. Second, staff have heard council's feedback over several meetings on including measurements of wealth in some form within the zoning map change process. As such, staff wanted to call to council's attention that Section D in Attachment G, the zoning map change report, now does include median household income by census tract, by city, and by county. This data is from the Department of Urban Housing and Development for the AMI, and from the ACS data, American Community Survey data from the U.S. Census Bureau. This data is referenced in Community Development's rules and procedures for affordable housing density bonus, and that is why we're referencing this data. Lastly, Section G, equity and engagement in the zoning map change report includes some other measures of wealth, as wealth can be more than just income. And this includes identifying if a project is in a formerly redlined area, and also if there are certain climate and economic justice indicators involved. If there are any questions, staff would be happy to follow up after the council meeting. Staff did receive a request for utility extension agreement, a voluntary annexation, and an initial zoning map change from Jason Morrow for 3 parcels of land totaling around 17.3 acres and located at the 2500 block of Chadwick Place and Burden Road. The annexation petition is for a non-contiguous expansion of the primary corporate city limits. The current zoning is residential rural. The applicant proposes to change this designation to planned development residential 6.943, or about 7 dwelling units an acre. This is to allow for the construction of up to 120 townhouse units. The zoning request, case Z2219, received a recommendation of denial from the Planning Commission on June 13th, 2023, by a vote of 12-0. And lastly, both the erosion and sediment control amendment that became effective May 23rd and the phase grading and tree preservation amendment that became effective on October 1st will apply to this case. This means that a 10-foot no-grade buffer will be required at the time of site plan for this project. Additionally, if the applicant does any mass grading, which is over 4 acres of disturbance, they will be required to do a 30-foot, which is a 0.6% opacity buffer. Thank you so much for your time. Staff and the applicant are available to answer any questions this evening.
Thank you so much. You have heard the report from staff, and I will now declare this public hearing open. First, are there any questions for staff from members of the council? Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Alexander, good evening. Good to see you. Would you give me some clarity on, there seems to be some ambiguity over a small piece of this land and this parcel with respect either to ownership or title or 1 foot of it, or do you know anything about that? Could you give some clarity as to is this parcel free and clear, or is there a strip that's kind of in limbo that we don't know who owns it?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. So we do have to do a ownership verification before the clerk certifies any annexation petition. At the time of petition submittal, all owners were verified and there is no discrepancy of whoever owns the parcels.
Do you know what the comments from the Planning Commission regarding some ambiguity about was there something that was cleared up in this TikTok somewhere in the timeline that, I'm just wondering where you can defer to someone if
Yeah, I think we'll defer to the applicant on this
Okay,
one because
sure.
I'm not familiar with this situation.
Then I yield back, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from colleagues? All right. We will now turn to our applicant first. We have several speakers, so Mr. Randy Herman, I believe, will be presenting.
Thank you. Is this micro? There we go. It's working now.
And Mr. Herman, you want to start off with 10 minutes, sir? It looks like we have a number of speakers, so you could start at 10 minutes, and of course you would do more if you so desire as rebuttal after we hear from.
Thank you. I did have some slides, and I don't see them. Oh, wait. Here we are. Here we go. Which hopefully will help. There we go. So thank you very much, Mayor O'Neill, members of council. Randy Herman from the law firm of B.A. Folk. I'm here representing the applicant, Capital City Homes. With me also is Jason Morrow from Capital City Homes and Tim Grissinger, who is the engineer on the project. They're both available to answer questions if it's necessary.
And before you get started, you actually could take as long as 15 minutes. I think I have enough cards that would accommodate.
I don't think I'll need it, but I appreciate it.
Okay.
So first, who is Capital City Homes? Capital City Homes is a local builder based in Raleigh, founded in 2009. They build projects throughout the Triangle, including in Durham, and they are known for reasonably priced homes and environmentally responsible building. So again, this project is called Sagebrook. It is located on Burton Road near Cheek Road. I'll show the map in just a minute. It's 17.36 acres. Proposed for rezoning for PDR a little bit less than 7. It's PDR 6.943 to allow up to 120 townhome units. So this is the subject property, again, just north of Cheek Road on Burton Road. Currently, it is undeveloped. And this is a map showing the existing surrounding zoning. We'll get to a little farther out view in a minute, but this is just looking immediately at it. It is adjacent to a subdivision that's currently zoned RS20, and otherwise most of the adjoining properties are rural residential. So one issue that the Planning Commission raised that I wanted to address is the question of annexation. This is a satellite annexation, but only technically. It's only one lot away from the city limits. So you can see immediately to the west is Carpenter Falls, which is a recently annexed project. To the south is Cardinal Lake, which is an older project. That wasn't what I wanted. I thought I had to zoom out. Sorry. All right. But if you do, you can kind of see it. If you zoom out a little bit to the north, you can see just the edge of the city limits up there. That is Panther Creek. Cardinal Lake is a much larger project. You just see the edge of it here. So even though this is a satellite annexation, it is surrounded by city limits, and in most cases, contiguous city limits. This is the utility context. This is from the staff report showing how this project will access utilities. So even though it is currently in the county and the surrounding properties are also currently in the county, there is city water and sewer running in Burton Road and also in Chadwick Place. So this slide comes from the UEA. and it shows specifically the connections that will be made to existing infrastructure in order to connect this property to water and sewer. So all of those facilities are already there in the existing roads, will not require any substantial infrastructure improvements. The other thing I wanted to point out, and this goes to the question from earlier about the 1-foot buffer. So this is from the original subdivision plat, and on this map, north is to the right, if that helps. But this is the original subdivision map for the adjacent subdivision. And for whatever reason, when that subdivision was created in the 80s, it was created with this 1-foot buffer strip surrounding that subdivision. So it runs along the adjacent lots to the east and also along the edge of Chadwick Place. So where otherwise we would normally expect that we would connect to Chadwick Place, in this case we literally can't because there is a 1-foot buffer between Chadwick Place and our project. We have been unable to identify the owner of that 1-foot buffer. I think when staff said there's no question about ownership, there's no question about ownership of the 3 parcels that are part of this project. It is that buffer that we have been unable to identify the owner. Like I said, it was set aside by the developer of that project about 40 years ago, and we have been unable to figure out who owns it. It's not necessarily an issue, but it does create some unique circumstances for this project. Again, we can't connect directly to Chadwick Place, and also some of those lots, which are immediately to the east of this project, were landlocked when they were developed and will continue to be landlocked because we don't touch those lots because of that buffer strip. And happy to answer any more questions about that in more detail, but that is one of the circumstances for this project. So under current zoning, the property could be developed by right for 35 single-family homes. We don't think that that's the best use of the property, and we don't think that's in the best interest of the city. And so what we were proposing is townhomes, 120 townhomes. And I will get to the development map in just a minute, but we have identified a couple of the comprehensive plan policies that we believe apply, including expanding homeownership, compatible infill, and promoting a mix of housing types in the city. So this is the plan for the project. So as you can see, there's a stream that runs along the western part of the property, paralleling to Burton Road, so that there are 2 stream crossings. Other than those stream crossings, that stream and the buffers and the wetlands around it will all be undisturbed. And so that is actually a pretty significant portion of the property that is undisturbed. And then all of the units that would be built, you might say, behind that, to the east of that stream, in order to minimize the disruptions to that area. As far as text commitments, we have design commitments and also text commitments. One of the design commitments that I wanted to point out is this number 7, buildings will not have garages. So for the size of townhomes that these will be, the most you could get is a 1-car garage, and our experience is that with a 1-car garage, people just use it for storage, and they still end up parking their car on the street either way. So eliminating garages from those units maximizes the amount of living space, and doesn't create what is essentially a tacked-on storage unit that would otherwise be there. This is all in an effort to keep the prices of these units down as much as possible. So there are no committed affordable units in this project, but we believe the price point for the units built the way that we intend them to will be lower than what you see in the surrounding areas. It'll be in the 200s to maybe the low 300s. And so, you know, our submission is that, you know, without asking for any city money, without asking for a subsidy, we are building what the market can build in terms of the most affordable units that can be built. And that is the plan for the project. Couple other text commitments, again, limiting to 120 units. And for townhomes, there will be pavement that will be set aside for a bike lane. There is unfortunately no bus service out there at the moment. And then the last thing, which is a new text commitment, so it's not probably in your package. This is something we proposed last Friday, is a contribution to Durham Public Schools in the amount of $60,000 that works out to $500 per unit. We are not phrasing it that way because we don't want to create any ambiguity if we don't actually end up building 120 units, but it'll be a flat fee contribution of $60,000. That is all I have. Happy to answer any questions from members of council, and any questions also for the developer or for the engineer.
Thank you, Mr. Herman. Are there any questions from council for Mr. Herman? Right, okay. Councilwoman Holsey-Hyman.
So, hi, good evening. I think
Good evening.
you answered it because I was a little concerned about, like, I guess the development outlay in terms of kind of the townhomes being in like the back of the parcel, right? And then no garages and surface parking. But I think you kind of explained it, but can you just kind of, are you doing that to kind of offset the cost of the, yeah.
Yes, so the units being all on the eastern side of the property is for environmental reasons. Again, there's a stream along Burton Road and pretty significant wetlands around the stream. All that's going to be undisturbed. And so because there's nothing being built on that western part of the property, everything kind of shifts to the east. And then the rest of it, as you said, is to keep prices down, is to provide the most affordable townhomes that we can build without, again, taking any city money.
Okay. And then just again, speak to the lack of affordable units.
Yes, so we did not offer a commitment for affordable units. Again, we think that we are creating a project that will be the most affordable units that you can get under a market rate development. And we believe that it's going to benefit the city, and that especially that eastern part of the city, by building essentially something that doesn't exist out there now, which is these townhomes.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening. Thank you for being with us. Did I hear you right that part of the justification for not building garages is because people with one-car garages tend to use them as storage?
Yes.
Is that scientific?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, one-car garages, generally, especially in fairly narrow townhomes, are only a little bit wider than the cars. And so what you see in actual usage is that they tend not to get used. They just tend to put stuff in there and park on the street. So you end up with street parking pretty much either way.
So with two-car garages, do people tend to put one car in there and use the other half for storage?
Sometimes, or two cars. It's just a little, it's easier to use. People can get in and out a lot easier. And so, yeah, either you see one car in storage or sometimes you see two cars. But
thank you. I didn't know that was scientific. You said the development that Neighbors is about 40 years old. Do you know if that developer who did that, had the 1-foot buffer, are they still in business?
I don't believe so. I wasn't involved in the title search part of it. That was before I came onto the project, but I know that they, development of the project and the submission of the application was delayed by almost a year while they tried to figure out who it was that owned that, and were not able to do it.
How was it resolved? They just...
It's resolved where we have a situation where we have a 1-foot parcel of land that we don't know who owns it, and that's, unfortunately, we weren't able to find a resolution for it.
Help me again with what the practical impact of that will be on your that 1-foot buffer. Give in layman's terms, what is the practical impact of that?
So one practical impact is that where Chadwick Place ends does not actually touch our project, so we can't extend Chadwick Place into the project, which means that we need to have, because we have to have two entrances, both entrances have to be on Burton Road. We can't have an entrance connecting to Chadwick because we don't touch Chadwick. So that's the main one. The other one is there is a neighbor out there who owns several of those landlocked parcels who requested that we dedicate right-of-way that would allow him to access the road from those parcels. Again, because there's that 1-foot buffer there, we don't actually touch his property, so even if we dedicated right-of-way there, he wouldn't be able to get to it. So that's specific to his request, but that also is an impact from the fact that buffer is there.
I think I heard you say, and I want to be fair in my characterization, that the product you're offering is different, something that doesn't exist out there, and comes in at a price point that is palatable to us. You're able to achieve that because of not having garages and just serve. Is that a fair characterization?
Yes, that's part of it. It's basically reducing. It's intended to be a no-frills project. So we are building housing, we're building amenities, but we're not doing a lot of extra stuff that just to kind of fancy it up. We're trying to simplify the project as much as possible, and that's what helps keep the price down.
So, and this might be my final question, because you made a point of saying it's something that doesn't exist out there and it would be helpful for the city, is the choice for us moving forward projects that have frills, but the developer just agrees to put some money on the table to, or donate affordable units, or the choice is just build no frills projects in order to come in with at affordable levels? Is that our path forward as a city?
I mean, there's a lot of different ways to get to affordability, and it can be a combination of restricted units, money donations, simplifying the projects. Greater density tends to reduce the price because of all the the purchase of the land and all the infrastructure. A lot of that is fixed fees. So the greater density, the more units you put in, the lower you can put the price point overall, because you spread those fixed costs over more units. So there's a lot of different ways to get to affordability. And obviously the city has done a lot in terms of granting bonuses and things like that. So there are many different ways to get to affordable projects. This is the way that we chose on this project.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I yield back.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Are there any other questions from colleagues?
Was there a matter of, in regards to the connectivity, the sewer and water, where are those coming from?
Yep. So, and this is also in the UAE. So there is water and sewer in Chadwick.
I'm sorry, could you say what UAE is? Just
the utility extension agreement. So there is water and sewer in Chadwick Place, and there's also water and sewer in Burton Road, even though neither of those are inside the city limits. I don't know the history of that, but those improvements are out there now. And so we are connecting to the existing lines that are already in the existing right-of-ways.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Holsey-Hyman?
I just have one other question. So we're talking about like 2-3 bedrooms? What are we talking about? Because you're not going to have a garage. Most people use that garage for just having the space, especially if you kind of maybe a young family and you kind of start with one kid and then you start having another kid and it's like, you don't want to have to go someplace else. So then all the toys and everything start going in there. So I'm just wondering, like, is it 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms? Okay, thank you.
3 bedrooms, yeah. As I said, the general idea is if you eliminate the garage, you have more, the unit is the size that it is. If you don't have a garage there on that first floor, you have more living space on the first floor. So you can either put an extra bedroom there, or you can expand the living facilities that are down there.
Are you targeting a specific market with this price point?
No, we are trying to build homes that people will want to live in and can afford to live in.
Thank you.
Any other questions, colleagues? Thank you. All right, we have several speakers who have signed up for this agenda item. I'll call the first 5 names. Ms. Donna Stanback, Ms. Pam Williams, Rebecca Freeman, Tom Freeman, and Wanda Allen. And you will each have 3 minutes apiece.
Okay, let me get set up here with this. Hold on a second. Escape, okay. There it is. Yeah, I see it. Okay. Let's see it. Okay. Oh, hold on a sec, let me get this. Oops. Okay. Just roll it. Yeah. Good evening, Mayor O'Neill and City Council. On the screen is part of the environmental planning metrics. Some of that is changed because of what Alex stated about the TC 22-0004 amendment being a must as far as the plans for this project. So we had them out. One of the other items that we could not find record of in all the documents, and we looked through the zone map change report and the development plan, was 17% open space. There is an allocation mentioned about 1,100 and 700 square feet for the not just play loans and the tot lot, but that's only 9% of the required open space, and only 2% of the total acreage, which 17 versus 2%. So that is needs to be fixed. That is a UDO. The other key area for improvement that we saw was the no affordable housing and the need for a enhanced stormwater plan, since there was issues with social pinpoint and folks in the community about flooding and floodplain, and with the creeks there needs to be a 100-year stormwater plan. Due to the slopes and creeks, a reduction in density should be similar to the surrounding areas with similar property, which the nearest surrounding area that was recently annexed was Carpenter Falls in May of 2023, and it only has 2 units per acre for residential rural. The proposed density of 6.943 we view needs to be reduced. Per the planning report, the proposal is potentially not in the public interest due to the unique environmental features on the site and the variables identified in the climate justice impact tool. And per the documents on the server, the intensity of the current zoning, the proposed zoning map change designation is consistent with the future land use designation inconsistent with the future land use designation of the comprehensive plan for the property per attachment O. This plan can be improved significantly and is ahead of its time due to the issues and the infrastructure capacity. Thank you very much. I think that's one of the first times I finished on time. Okay, good. Yeah.
Good afternoon, Mayor O'Neill and council members. My name is Pam Williams, and my address is on file.
A concern of the people in the community is the major traffic issues, especially at Burton Cheek and Fletcher's Chapel, as stated in the social pinpoint and by his personal experiences. I grew up about a mile from this intersection, and of course was at Pope's Mini Mark, or Billy's Mark now is what it's called, quite a bit. This site is within 500 feet of the Cheek Road four-way stop. There's been 9 crashes within 3 years at this intersection, and I'm surprised it's that low due to personal experience and what people tell me and everything. Also, at the intersection at the end of Burton Road, up here, that is East Gear Street, there's 11 crashes. The vehicles per day per Carpenter Falls TIA, Sagewood and Carpenter Falls would increase the ADT on Burton Road by 3,500, which would bring it up to 8,500. There's not a TIA on this development because it's only 120 townhomes and one's not required. So I went back to Falls that was approved in May. The intersection of Burton Road and Cheek, Fletcher, Chapel level of service is currently a level of service D, and per the TIA would be a level of service F. A D capacity is between 7,000 and 10,000 vehicles per day, depending on certain issues such as number of driveways and other issues like that. No improvements is proposed in this intersection for this project. There's no proposed roadway improvements in this area except the left turn lanes to the site. These increases are due to, the increase in the traffic is due to the city approving the subdivisions such as Carpenter Falls and now Sagewood, and there's one other which I did not identify, I did not know that it just hadn't been built out yet. No infrastructure to support the additional dwellings, schools, or overcapacity, and lack of fire, police, EMS to support. I think the best interest of the community is the 35 dwellings as the Flume proposed. And I just want to, I know a lot of you are saying, what's the level of service D and what is the level of service F? This is per NCDOT highway standards. Level of service D is what's current. Level of service F, it would be per the TIA in 2026. I am, again, I'm opposed to this. Main reason is because it doesn't go with the Flume, that sometime we have to start following our own plans to get the best design. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor O'Neill, Mayor Pro Tem Middleton, and council members. I'm Rebecca Freeman, and I live in Durham County. And I wanted to share this slide with you that is gone. There it goes. Okay. In keeping with the comprehensive plan, this is not within a 15-minute walking distance of stores, jobs, or businesses. According to the comprehensive plan, rooted and connected communities, we want new development designed to respect, support, and fit into existing neighborhoods, and for residents to be involved in those decisions. The comprehensive plans with the community goals and objectives are stating that we want every resident to be able to access essential daily needs within a 15-minute walk, roll, or bike ride. The proposed zoning map change designation is inconsistent with the future land use designation of the comprehensive plan for the property per attachment 0 or O. The Planning Commission, as you know, and as mentioned earlier, they denied at 12-0. This development is not within the existing community character. If you'll notice that around it, there's a lot of housing and housing units. Carpenter Falls is a housing unit that was just, a division that was just approved recently. That's certainly not in keeping with this 6.93 PDR. There are no businesses or schools within 2 to 5 miles. And I don't think your 1.3 miles is great, but I don't think anybody would want to walk 2 miles, at a minimum of 2 miles to a business or a school. There's not within near a transit route. They're over 2.4 miles west. There are no existing sidewalks or bike lanes in the vicinity along Burton or Cheek Road, except for the ones that would be constructed here. These narrow rural roads are with very small shoulders, have are very dangerous, not only for pedestrians and bicyclists, but for cars. Cars, people that drive vehicles, they have to make decisions about trying to get around the bicyclist or making sure they get around the pedestrians. So it's dangerous for everybody that travels these very narrow rural roads that were not meant for high traffic areas. I will refer you to the social pinpoint comments. There were 14 comments from the neighbors there. They were in opposition. They related anywhere from stormwater runoff, flooding, affordability, which is my understanding would be very affordable according to the presenter, increased traffic, loss of rural lands and wildlife habitat, lack of infrastructure, and cumulative effects of the development of the issue. So I wish you would take all these considerations into your decision making tonight. Thank you so much. To the picture.
Oh, that's okay. I did it. Yeah, he's probably got it.
Okay.
Can you get the PowerPoint back up? Thank you.
Okay. Oh, did I went the wrong way? Okay. Yeah, sorry. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Thomas Freeman. I reside in Durham. My address is on file. I'm a native, and I vividly recall many of our distinguished guests when they were in the middle of the highlights of their career voting and supporting them. So thank you for having them this evening. I come before you tonight in opposition to this, yet another mass graded site in Durham County. I'll be sharing 2 slides with you, but first I'd like to just stop and talk a little bit about mass grading. What I'm asking for is a stop on mass-graded residential construction, and also a stop on the many variances for wetlands and buffers. A planner or a developer is not worth his salt if he has to come back and ask for a variance. They know full well at the concept of their drawing, their proposal, what is going to be, what they're going to build. So to come back and ask for a variance is not in keeping with good management, good planning. The mass grading is responsible for more impervious surface. It removes the mature trees, only to be replaced by little twigs, and it impairs the creek beds and destroys the water flow into those, increasing with increased sediment. Mark my words, this is yet another disaster in the making. Lick Creek number 2, if you will. Stay tuned. We've got Carpenter Falls and this that will again, I believe it will be Lick Creek number 2. Blasting is a derivative of mass grading. You've got to blast these sites to remove the material so that you can make way for high density development. My approach to this would be completely different if the developers here were talking about rural residential, but they're not. They're talking about mass development. Blasting is resulting in well damages across the county. Just this week, I've spoken to 2 individuals face to face, and they have shared with me the loss of their wells. These wells were 30 and 40 years in service, and all of a sudden, no water. And they're in close proximity to these developments that have been blasting. We've seen recently that the fire department changed the system. Why did they change that system? They were not acting responsibly. So in order to come into compliance, if you will, they changed the way they would manage the program. And that was in June. I'd like to speak longer, but I've used up my 3 minutes. Thank you very much. Their names of these individuals are available if you care to know their names. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Wanda Allen, Ms. Pam Andrews, Mr. Jacob Freeman, and Mr. James Chavis are the last cards that I have, but we will also have a couple of speakers on the internet as well. 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Wanda Allen. My residence
is on record here. I'd like for you to take a look at the presentation of the slide. You will see here Panther Creek, the data. 2019, Panther Creek received a B. 2021, this data is from Durham. 2021, Panther Creek received a C for water quality. Okay, remember, this is your data, not my data. So now we're in 2023. You guys know that you have approved several large developments out there. Carpenter Reserves off Carpenter Falls, Industrial Park on Furl Road, Timberleaf development on Furl Road, which all of these developments will have an impact on Panther Creek. So you're very much aware of the developments. You're also very much aware of the concerns of blasting and wells that have been destroyed on Junction Road. You're also very much aware that the individuals on Junction Road are receiving the water from tankers. You're aware of burning violations that have been brought up, and the developer elected to say it was less costly to pay for the violations than to take it to the landfill and follow proper procedures. So also you're aware that there's individuals on Furl Road that work at the Central Market, that farm, that has to wear a K95 mask. So you have the data for 2021. You see the water quality is C. You have seen this, as Tom mentioned before, we're heading for another Lick Creek disaster. So I asked you the question, why would you authorize another development, knowing the water quality is not improving, it has gotten worse? We just started these developments. Your staff gave us this report card. So thank you for your time.
Good evening, Mayor O'Neill, Mayor Pro Tem, and City Council members. My name is Pamela Andrews, 6108 Wake Forest Highway. Tonight I want to speak to you on how effective are these two new amendments that have been written. The Stormwater Erosion Control Amendment I want to speak to first. In this new amendment, we have requested, or that has passed, 2 rows of silt fences, 100-year storm pond, stream buffer widths must be at least 150 feet on each side of the perennial stream. Ground cover must temporarily cover within 2 days after a site has been disturbed. And there's a lot of grass going out there, so I give Ryan Eves credit for that one. Flocculants, chemicals that can be used to cause these red particles to clump and to fall out of suspension to reduce the tomato soup and runoff. However, when Tropical Storm Idalia came through in early September, the surrounding property, including Lick Creek, was saturated with rich tomato soup, pouring off of the retention pond over the landscape. Even though flocculants had been used at this site before, past the double silt fences, this is not Lick Creek. This is the landscape it's pouring over. I took that picture on September the 9th. A couple weeks later, we had the second tropical storm come through. Again, saturating the creeks with blood red water, following the second tropical storm Ophelia a few weeks later, September 23rd. I'm not sure how effective the new amendment is at this point. Less than 30 acres was graded on this project. 200-foot buffers was on this project. Flocculants were used on this project. Double silt fencing was used on this project. And still you see what we're getting. It's very, very alarming. Then the tree preservation, I know just got passed, and we are starting to demand that one, and it's part of the package now. But if your acreage is less than 35 acres, which this one is, a minimum of 20% of preserved tree coverage shall be required. This clearly does not exceed 35 acres, so it means 17.36 acres. 20% of that is required 3.472 acres. In this development, they are going to propose 4.42 acres to remain intact, which is approximately 1 acre extra. However, this extra acre saved is because the creek buffers prohibit building in that zone. No extra trees were voluntarily donated. That buffer could not be used unless a variance was given. Recently, a variance was given which allowed 57 mature trees, Jacob, would you hold that up, please, were taken down so an additional 5 townhomes could be put in place. This is what we're taking down. This is what we're replacing it with, an inch tree, a sapling. Our metrics need to be created to see how much these 2 amendments are actually working. Southeast Durham is in need of help. Thank you.
Okay, can we get the slides back up, please? Okay. So my name is Jacob Freeman, and my address is on file. So I'm going to wrap up the comments that the speakers before me have made and kind of summarize briefly. So in general, we talked about saying no to increased density and to maintain the very low density per the flume of 2 dwellings per acre. The gap in affordable housing has been noted. So there's a question about the parcels to the east side being landlocked. I think that's been established already. One of the things that we thought was lacking was the proffer for the students in the overall proposal. The 2-stream crossing for vehicle and once for utilities provides more opportunity for environmental damage in those sensitive areas. The 100-year stormwater management plan we think is essential. And then this is really reflected in a lot of the comments that I read on the social pinpoint where neighbors in the area are very concerned about flooding that happens now, not to mention what will happen after everything is mass graded. The phased development tree preservation requirements are not saving any additional mature trees and habitat for wildlife that Pam just talked about. And lastly, verify that the sediment erosion control amendments and turbidity requirements are below the state level. So Pam also showed those pictures of the tomato soup, and you're well aware of the issues that Lick Creek has, and then also what's been discussed too about the current state of Panther Creek and its grade, which is not very good. And I can't imagine with the level of development that we're talking about here would be any better. So those are my comments. Thank you for your time this evening.
To the mayor and other city council members, I ask you a question. Do you know the difference between taking a shovel and digging and taking a dynamite and put some fire to it? Well, back in the day, they took a shovel and dig. Now they're taking dynamite and put fire to it. And that fire is causing a lot of problems throughout Durham, and especially in this area. I want you to understand one thing. As you go around Durham, especially in this area where I live in, and see all the destruction of our lakes, our creeks, our rivers, and streams. And it didn't come from digging with a shovel. Our planning department and all has been lying and letting these developers do blasting, because as one of your members know, we try to get them to come out there and see and ask some of y'all, have y'all been to the Twin Lakes right here in our area and see what they done to those Twin Lakes? Beautiful lakes, but one is not. And it did not come from just taking a shovel. It took from blasting. Look at the rainfall we've been given throughout Durham. Have you been riding around, seeing where this construction is done, and see where the water flow looks like, and where is that water flow going? and how much damage it's doing to our environment, or do you care? My question is, why are they not adding any low-income housing to their development? It shows you. You asked the question, Milton. You asked that very good question. What way are they trying to get their money? It's low and up or just up? Thank you.
We have a couple of speakers on the internet with us this evening. Ms. Amanda Belgrave. Ma'am, if you could hear me, you would have the floor for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor O'Neill, and the honorable council members. I appreciate you all being here tonight. I am in opposition of this proposed development, and I have been since we initially received our letter and I got more involved in understanding the community and more of the landscape of the neighborhood. I had the great fortune of buying a house here in 2021, which I am very proud that I was able to purchase. However, now I feel like there is a genuine threat against my property with the anticipation of this proposed development and the potential of blasting. I personally live in a brick ranch neighboring on Cheek Road, and I also operate a well, which I've invested a lot of money to re-outfit to provide myself safe and affordable drinking water. I think that there are an immense amount of traffic concerns, and I think that the members of Preserve Rural Durham have presented those effectively. However, as somebody that resides here on a daily basis, I'm telling you, if I-85 has traffic or there is an accident and they're diverted onto Redwood Road, that becomes additional traffic that comes onto Cheek as well as Burton. There's no public transportation, so this will be a car-dependent neighborhood. There's not adequate shopping or grocery stores, especially for the proposed amount of developments, not only in this specific area, as well as other areas in the Durham region. I personally drive 22 minutes to the grocery store because the food line that is proposed does not have enough options for one to sufficiently grocery shop and do their full grocery. I am upset that there is no affordable housing offered, and the excuse of it being a no frills allows for affordable housing. That tells me that you're not investing into this property. I would love for them to increase the 100-year storm drain. I would say that as somebody that, again, lives in this neighborhood and I'm actively out walking, I have neighbors that have sent me videos of the flooding. And I want to reiterate that it's not just flooding, it is rushing water going through these members' backyards. And you're going to disturb all the trees that are currently pre-existing. And anybody that is on Chadwick Road is going to be tremendously impacted. And not only that, anybody on Burton Road, including my own property, will be severely flooded by the change of the erosion. I do not agree that they should have 240 parking spaces. It's not realistic with the proposal of a 37% impervious surface. And this is tremendously inconsistent with the newly adopted comprehensive plan, section 163, as it would be considered a satellite property. I do not believe that this benefits the city of Durham, and this is appropriate use of this, and it should remain residential rural, 35 dwellings, especially with Carpenter Preserve being built, and we haven't seen the impact of what is going to happen in the future. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Belgrave. I think we have one other hand raised, Ms. Ghassan Zadat. If you would like to speak to this item, you would have 3 minutes.
Yes, good evening, Ms. Mayor and the City Council. My name is Ghassan Zadat. I own the lots in the east behind the proposed development. And he keep talking about that 1 foot buffer zone between me and him. And I don't know how this 1 foot appear in here. And it's always the excuse that why they cannot extend the road or develop it. I'm not really that, I mean, you can see from even my accent, I'm not a native. And I used to live in North Carolina. I came up to Jersey and I have a plan to go back to North Carolina, retire there. But I mean, even if you're gonna treat that 1-foot buffer as a piece of land that's owned by someone, and that's the reason he cannot extend it, he's still gonna be locked land in that 1 foot anyway. In theory, he will be locked land in that 1 foot. So he need to extend it, because he said if he extend the road, it will not benefit nobody because of that 1 foot. He's just trying to escape, and it's an excuse for not to, to spend any money to do anything, or he's not trying to develop the area properly, or with the concern for the neighbors or his neighbors. Everything is going over there is how much money I'm gonna save and how much money I'm gonna make, and that's why he's not offering any low-income houses or anything. It just basically is going for the dollar sign, and that's why he's been doing this for 2 or 3 years. He could have acquired that 1 foot legally. He could have done a lot of things, but he's not doing anything. He's only doing things just to, at the end of the day, to make a profit in that project, with no concern to any neighbors or any community or anything. And I think with this kind of massive project, he can do a lot better than this, and he can help the area and what he's coming into, not just coming and buy 120 units, sell them, and then disappear. And I think that's the main plan. That's his final plan. He's gonna buy 120 units, develop it, sell it, develop it at the lowest cost he can possible, sell it at the highest possible price, and then take the profit and leave to the next town. And that's what he's doing. Zero concern to the neighbors or to the community or anybody. And I thank you very much for considering that he will not be able to lock land us whatsoever, because he's gonna render our lots as dead lots. We can't do that. And I hope that you take that into consideration. Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone else with the hand raised to speak on this item? All right, and how much time would our applicant have as rebuttal?
9 minutes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't think I'll need all 9 minutes, but I did want to address a couple of the things that were raised by the neighbors. So some of the things that they've requested: 100-year storm management, double silt fence, Falklands, all of those things are things that we would propose as conditions, but they're already required under the ordinance. So we cannot create a condition that would duplicate the requirements that we are already required to meet under the ordinance. I had a discussion about this with planning staff. As they said, and as we've said, we understand that we are bound by the new ordinance, and therefore we are already going to be required to do many of the things that the Preserve Rural Durham advocates have asked for. We are also, and it's on the development plan, setting aside 25% of the property as open space. Most of that is the stream buffers. So that is area that, 25% of this property will not be developed. So one of the neighbors asked where on the property will that 25% be? It'll be in those stream buffers that are shown on the development plan. A couple other things that some of the neighbors addressed. We certainly have no plans to ask for variance on this project. I am the attorney representing the developer. I would be the one doing that, and I can tell you that in all the conversations I've had with the developer, they've never mentioned anything about going for a variance at some point in the future. We intend to follow the rules that are set forth in the UDO as they are. Also, our initial soil testing of the project does not indicate that there's any need for blasting on this project. Blasting, to address one of the neighbors' question, the reason why sometimes you can use a shovel and sometimes you have to blast is because you have to blast where there's rock. And that's the way that you break up the rock in order to get the land to be flat. We haven't found any indication on this property that blasting will be required, and we don't anticipate doing any blasting on this project. The last thing I wanted to say is Essentially, we have two categories of, setting aside Mr. Ziadat, who I'll address in a minute, we have two categories of comments essentially from the neighbors. One is requesting additional environmental protections, and as I said, I think everything that they have asked for is something that we are going to be required to do anyway under the new ordinance. And the other set of comments essentially says, we don't want to see this property developed at all. Because the streams are already receiving runoff, because there's issues with water quality, because of their concerns about traffic, essentially they don't want to see this project or anything else in this area developed at all. And I don't think that that is a way to move forward with the city, and I don't think that that is going to accomplish the things that the city wants to do in terms of housing residents. The last thing I wanted to say is with regard to Mr. Ziadat's property. So his property is currently landlocked. It was landlocked when it was developed 40 years ago. It will continue to be landlocked after, no matter what we do with this project, and that is because we don't touch his parcels. Nothing that we could do could change the fact that his lots are landlocked. I will say he does have a lot, his northernmost lot, that touches on Chadwick Place, so he could alleviate the situation by dedicating right away through his lots, all of which are contiguous, and the northernmost one touches Chadwick Place. But there's nothing that we can do on our property to solve that. If we could, we would certainly look at it, but there is nothing that we can do to resolve Mr. Ziadat's situation. So that's all I have to say in response. Happy to answer any additional questions from members of council.
Thank you all. I believe we have heard from all of our speakers who have signed up or talked to us remotely. And I will now declare the public hearing to be closed and the matter is back before council. Are there any questions from council? Councilwoman Caballero.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Alexander, I have a couple questions for you. Thank you. The 100-year stormwater one, I don't remember that being part of the last two updates that we did, so that's question one.
You read my mind. Thank you,
Okay.
Councilmember Caballero. That was not part of the erosion and sediment control amendment or the phase grading and tree preservation amendment, and it wasn't in the two proffers sent by the applicant to planning ahead of time. So there is no requirement for a 100-year storm, and it's not dedicated on this project.
Thank you. I can ask you or I can ask the applicant what is dedicated, just so the public is also aware.
Yeah, it'd be 1, 2, or 10-year, depending on what stormwater control measures and BMPs they use.
Okay. Thank you. I think that's all my questions for you.
Recording stopped.
The applicant, I was just hearing what staff just said. What is the dedication or what is the commitment right now?
Yes, I apologize. My understanding was that that was included in the ordinances, so that is on me. We are willing to commit to detaining the 100-year storm. It's not a problem.
Thank you. Real quick, I have a question for you. Sorry. What is the square footage of the townhome? 3-bedroom, but how big? 1,500. Okay, and you said the price point is you're trying to get to like 250?
Yeah, somewhere between 250 and 300.
Yeah. I get that part, but I'm just trying to get the. Could you say that again, please?
Yes, somewhere between 250 and 300.
Okay. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilor, and my colleague, Councilmember Caballero, anticipated one of my questions. So 1,500 square feet?
Yes.
So what would it have been if you had added a garage?
Can you answer that? He's going to do some calculations real quick.
Okay.
The unit would be the same size, but you wouldn't. 1280. Yeah, 1280. You wouldn't have the same. The unit would be the same size, but you wouldn't have the same amount of living space because a garage is not considered living space.
Okay. I understand the proposition of attaining affordability through no frills, but I don't find it compelling. because this is Durham, and one of the things we have prided ourselves on is affordable housing not being recognizably affordable, not being, I don't want to say substandard, but we have a project downtown here, apartment complex, that you can't tell the difference between it and the other market rate around it. Granted, there's a lot of city money in it, but we've had other developers who have come and have had and dedicated affordable housing in their profit. So I don't really find that compelling, that attaining affordability through no frills. While it may be economically sound, for me at least, it doesn't comport with what I understand Durham values to be. I also am curious about the amount of due diligence on that 1 foot. You said that it predates you, and I know you're kind of new, and I'm curious as to the amount of due diligence. The money that was saved on the no frills perhaps could be, added to some more research on where that 1 foot is. I do have a question, and Madam Attorney, this might be for you or maybe for the staff, or even perhaps for you, Counselor. What statutorily, for land, is there any statutory standard for land after a certain number of years that no discernible owner is? Aren't there some accrual rights, or what happens after a certain number of years? And how far are we away from that threshold?
If it's property that's occupied and used by somebody, then title can transfer by adverse possession after 21 years. But this is not property that's being used by anybody. It's basically just a vacant strip. Theoretically, the city, of course, could do a taking to create right-of-way there if it wanted to. But otherwise, it just will remain the way that it is until something is done about it. And I will say, for the record, I don't really think it benefits us to have that strip there. I think we actually would be happier if it wasn't there. But it just kind of is what it is.
You and some other folks. Counselor, did you want to?
I don't want to opine on that right now, Mayor.
Okay, sure.
It's been a long time since I've done real estate law, but we can research that, what happens to untitled property or property that's not assigned in the GIS system.
Okay. Did you want to? Thank you, ma'am. Finally, I don't think that 35 single-family residences would be the best use of this property, but I'm not there on this particular project tonight. I also want to say that, and I heard it again in tone tonight, I do not believe that a moratorium in this area is good for the city. And I've heard many arguments, but the argument I have not heard is a compelling economic argument as to what happens when we constrict supply in one area of the city, which will indeed preserve the lifestyle of certain folk, but direct higher income buyers who are interested in living in Durham to the interior of our city. What happened? I've heard all kinds of speculation and theories as to how we do our business here, but what I have not heard is an actual level-headed economic argument as to how stopping it in one area will prevent the laws of economics from kicking in other areas of our city. So that's not compelling to me either. But with this particular project, again, I don't, I'm bothered by the equating of affordability to no frills. And I would like to see also some more due diligence on the 1 foot. So I won't be supporting this project tonight. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councilwoman Caballero.
Thank you. I appreciate my colleague. I spoke with the developer on Friday, and I was pretty candid at that meeting. We've gotten really lucky about the types of projects. I understand that folks are upset or miffed with some of my votes. That's the nature of the job. But I stand by my record as we look at this on a case-by-case basis. This is rezoning. This is not, you don't get a comp plan from the votes up here on a case-by-case basis. So I do look at each case individually. If colleagues or the applicant are open to it, I am open to having it, especially because we have a question around the property issue, around this 1 foot. I'm fine with having, see, if the applicant is interested in doing a continuance, but if there is not that, I will not be supporting that, this project. I think there's too many just odd things around it. I think that we've seen projects that are, if you're asking for the density, which you are, which I believe in, I have to know that it's good for the community in other ways, because it is different than what the folks are used to having out there. And that's, I understand why there is fear or resistance to that change. There's not a lot we can do about it. We do it here, we do it in person in Granville. I've said that many times, which will still affect our waterways, which will still affect our traffic, and they don't have the same regulation that we do, so we're actually creating a larger issue, in my opinion. We have much more regulation in Durham than those counties do. As this project is before us, I will not be supporting it, but I'm also open to, if folks are, or if the applicant's open to it, a delay. Thank you. To see if they can come back to us with that legal question on property answered, and then some serious looking at the community benefits of this project. Thank you.
To the applicant. Thank you. So, yeah, quick question. I want to get down into just the price point. I'm not going to ask you to give me the login information to your bank account, but I do want to understand the economics behind the price point, what got you there, just so we can have that as much as you can give, so we can have a better understanding, because I did see, and I hear this a lot, so I'm going to use what I heard tonight or saw tonight. Keep it as what it's currently zoned for, which is 35 single-family homes, but also make it affordable. So those two things don't logically work, and I hear that a lot. So could you talk about the economics behind getting something like this financed? And I know you guys did not say the buzzword. You didn't say we're going to contribute X percentage to affordable, but also these are technically affordable in a sense. So could you talk about the economics behind it?
I'm going to ask Jason Morrow to come up and answer that one.
Good evening, Council. Sir, just so I can understand your question, you want to know how we got to the mid-200s to upper 200s for this particular product?
Yeah, and I'm asking you this because of the culture and nature in which we are doing policy now. So if you guys have done your homework, you've heard the Durham City Council meetings, and you hear what some of my colleagues actually say, and also what comes from the floor. But what we don't really hear a lot is how you got to the price point, because we ask often for it to be low density and affordable. And I personally don't think that's logical, so I'm asking you to tell me how you got to where you got financially. And based on the average home cost in this city, these are technically affordable according to where we are with the AMI levels.
Well, with approximately 20-25% of the property unusable, the single family, component goes way down. Our density for single families, we said maybe we might be able to get 35 homes. It's probably really 30. And with the two stream crossings, there's just not enough houses to spread the cost off to put the infrastructure in, the sewer, the water, the roads for single family. So the next thing we looked at was townhomes. We backed into the number, what we think, and all the work that we've done, hundreds of thousands of dollars have been spent so far for the plans that we have. So we back into that number. We think we know, rough estimates on what it will cost to develop and what each lot will cost us, right? Backing into that, the next step is, how much will it cost us to sticks and bricks wise to build a unit? And what we came up with was a 1,500 square foot non-garage product that we think will sell well, and it'll be a great product for this particular area, because there is nothing like that out there right now.
Gotcha. And the other side of this is what I'm bothered with, because we do have our own personal experiences or what experiences we see, on throughout the community. I've had bad experiences with neighborhoods that are, and I'm not saying you have to put a garage, but I've had bad experiences with townhome neighborhoods that don't have a garage, and you start getting all types of street parking. They just don't maintain well. So that's a personal view into it, but it's not an impeding view on my decision. However, I'm looking at this, and I just don't know if it's the best. I don't know, and I can't speak for you or think for you. I just don't know if this is the best creative project put forth. It's almost like here is 120 townhomes, and we're just dropping it right here. So how much consideration went into neighborhood character around, with what's around it, with your conditions that you have to deal with as far as the 25% preservation and, was just basic townhomes, this basic build that you have, or this basic concept, the best option? And in what areas? Is that financially, or just, you thought this would be the best to get through politically, or what? Like, can you do more? And I don't mean more as in amount, but can you better embed this project into the neighborhood that's there, that community?
Well, there was a lot of thought. The front of this property is not usable. That's why you see the majority of all the units in the eastern portion of this project. And with that and having no garages, it's the development costs from widening the streets and having those extra parking spaces. There's significant costs there. So I don't know if it was. We weren't necessarily looking to save a bunch of money by not having a garage. I think some of that money went into, widening the streets for the extra parking and getting the parking that's necessary for 120 townhomes. We just thought that, like Randy had mentioned, one-car garages, they get cluttered. I've done one-car garage townhome units before. They're fine. This particular project, we thought that we could get more curb appeal by not having a garage and doing more on the facades to give a little more pizzazz than what you're talking about, what you normally see. So, we think the finished product will be good, but,
Okay, thank you. I'll yield, and I'm not sure where I'm landing on it yet. Thank you.
All right, I think we have a couple more questions from you, for you, coming from council. However, I'm about 15 minutes past the time when we should take a break for closed captioning. So I'm going to ask that we come back with those questions at 9:26, okay?
Thank you.
There's a guy who's a professor, and he brings them every, so often. Government. Oh, really? Yeah. You tried. Right. And the speaker, the first speaker was not Pam Williams. No, it wasn't. I don't know what her name is. The short lady? I thought you said her name was Pam. This one, ma'am. What's your name? You're Pam. Are there three Pams?
If you're a dog owner in Durham, you're going to want to mark your calendar now for this year's Barktoberfest. The event will be held from 3:30 to 6:30 p.m. on Saturday, October 28th at Durham Central Park. It will feature a photo booth, canine food drive, pet market to shop for pet-related items, canine foster and adoption organizations, and beer and food sales. Entertainment will include performances by the Durham Divas and Dude and the Mighty Messengers of Soul, as well as the always popular Pup Costume Contest. The individual costume contest will take place at 4:45 p.m. and the group costume contest will be at 5:30 p.m. Barktoberfest is free for everyone and will take place rain or shine. More information can be found at dprplaymore.org/276 and on social media.
Now, you've received a portion of the ARPA funding to support the Durham Eviction and Housing Debt Assistance Program. Tell me about that program specifically.
So that program is geared towards helping people pay their eviction debt post-March 2020, having people that are housing insecure or currently homeless, that are under the 80% AMI for our area, and specifically matching them with monies to pay off things along with CEF's other services.
Now, when you say 80% AMI, what specifically, say for one individual, what kind of income would that be?
That would be $53,500.
But typically you use the example of a household of 4?
Yes, and a household of 4 is $76,400.
So how much of that $130 billion did the city of Durham actually get?
So surprisingly, the city of Durham was awarded $51 million in funding, and Durham County was actually allocated $61 million. And it was really focused on, how do we deal with public health issues, address negative economic impacts on our community, provide premium pay for our employees who will continue to provide services during the pandemic, as well as invest in water, sewer, and broadband services.
So a variety of projects could benefit from this money, huh?
Yes, cities were given a lot of flexibility within those categories.
There's no place like home. Home is where the heart is.
Hey, can I help you? Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
It is our place of safety and warmth. Home is where love resides, memories are created, and laughter warms the heart. That's why the Durham Human Relations Division is committed to enforcing the Fair Housing Act, which prohibits unlawful discrimination based on race, color, disability, religion, sex, familial status, or national origin.
Everyone in Durham should be able to find a home they can afford. That's why Forever Home Durham is creating affordable, livable, and inclusive communities for low to middle income residents. From renting to owning, find out how the city is helping more people find homes right here in Durham. Learn more at foreverhomedurham.com.
Yeah, you gotta do it.
Then I ate over here, then I came back and ate that.
All right, everybody, I think we're ready to come back in. It's 9:26, so we're ready to get started. And I think we were at Councilwoman Johnson, who had some questions for our applicant. I'll yield to you, Councilwoman Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I didn't really have any questions for the applicant. I just wanted to make a couple of comments. It's kind of funny. I feel like we've only heard a lot of problems that folks have with this development. I just want to point out a couple of, it's not my favorite thing that's ever come before us, but I do think it has a lot of advantages over what the by right zoning is. Particularly, I'm not concerned about not having garages, and it's interesting to me that there has been so much concern about not having garages, because I think, a lot of the city is built in a way that doesn't have garages. My house doesn't have a garage. I actually grew up in until I was about 10 or 11 in a very similar townhome development with all-street parking, no garages, and I didn't find it to be challenging in any way as a result of that. So I guess it'd be, obviously you're not winning this vote tonight, so maybe we don't need to continue to discuss it, but I would be interested in having more conversations with my colleagues around just that particular question. It's interesting to me how that's become kind of a point of controversy that I didn't really expect. I think the main benefit of this project is that these homes are affordable to people. A family of four at 80% of the AMI could afford these homes, and that's happening without any city subsidy, and we routinely subsidize 80% AMI purchase options. So this is happening without any kind of government subsidy, just because of the way the houses are being built, that they're smaller, that they're being built with street parking and so-called no frills, which I didn't personally take that as problematic. I think that obviously there's a balance between what you put in a house, how much it costs to build a house, and how much you have to sell the house for, and if you can cut the cost, then it's cheaper for folks. And buying a $250,000 to $300,000 townhome is a new $250,000 to $300K townhome is incredibly unusual in Durham right now, and I think it's an opportunity that a lot of our residents would be happy about, even if they're, even without a garage or granite countertops or, all the other stainless steel appliances or whatever else goes into so-called luxury housing. So I don't think building townhouses in this area is a bad idea. I think it's much better than single family. I would much prefer this. I don't see a lot of environmental issues. The 1-foot buffer thing's weird, but it doesn't really bother me that much. So I kind of feel okay about this. It's not my favorite thing, but I would, support it in order to have more, to have some market affordable, reasonably, smallish, but reasonably sized homeownership opportunities. We've got people coming to us all the time looking for housing, and this is something that, a middle-class family could actually afford, and that feels like a real benefit to me. I understand there's other issues that my colleagues are concerned about, but I feel like for me, those are pretty big pluses in the plus column. Thanks.
Councilwoman Holsey-Hyman. Thank you, Councilwoman.
So real quick, I'll be real quick. I want to just thank my colleagues for bringing up some really, really good points tonight. It's so hard for people in general to just find the money to even purchase. So even though these homes are at a pretty, reasonable amount, I'm thinking about like the first-time home buyer, the family, they still have to come up with that $250,000 or whatever the case may be. And then I'm thinking about there probably going to be a lot of young people starting their family. And I know for me, it was like, I started outgrowing my little house, and then I started using the garage, for everything else. And so then it's like, having to move the car and try to come home, and you have this, you buy a home, a townhouse or whatever, because you want the luxury of saying you have your own. And then you have to kind of, as I think Councilmember Williams and Mayor Pro Tem talked about, it's like, you need that. You don't want to have to come move your car and do all that, and you come home late at night and you're trying to, so I personally feel if I'm going to spend $250,000 or above, I would like to be able to have some place where I can put my car. And again, I'm still, kind of just, I know the no frills things and trying to kind of, make the project affordable. I'm just really concerned about the lack of the affordable housing piece. I know, that's just my concern. But anyway, I am not going to be supporting this project tonight. Thank you.
Any other comments from Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I want to applaud my colleague, Councilmember Johnson's observations and questions, and it was a rather pointed question. And I just want to be clear. The lack of garage is not determinative for me. I found it, however, I guess philosophically compelling or interesting that the notion of moving forward and tethering affordability to no frills. I'm spoiled at this point as a council member here in Durham, because we've had developers who have come forward and who have provided affordability without differences in material or flourishes. It's the same unit. We have insisted in other parts of our city when we built apartments, that we don't want the affordable units to be segregated from the main units. We don't want them to look different. So for me, there's a standard that's been established. But I'm not tethering my vote or linking my vote to the lack of garage. I just found the proposition that the attainment of affordability through no frills, for me, is something that I've kind of migrated from just being in Durham because of what we've done and what we've been seeing come before us. For me, and I'll say it again, that due diligence issue on that foot buffer, and one of my colleagues, I think, floated the idea of perhaps a continuance, which I would certainly be open to. But as it stands tonight, as I said earlier, I wouldn't be supporting this project, but I would like to see some more due diligence on that foot buffer. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Before I ask our applicant to speak again, if I could just get a thumbs up for those who would not oppose, I was going to mention the request that Councilmember Caballero had, that she would like to present an option to you of a continuance. Does anyone else have any objection to that? Okay. So if you ask for it.
If you ask for it.
So I will just leave it there for you. If not, we are prepared to vote.
Madam Mayor, we would like to ask for a 30-day, or not 30-day, but a continuance to whatever the session would be, 2 sessions from now, I believe.
All right, we'll wait for our planning department to give us some direction on that. Yes, Councilman Williams.
Yeah, and I would support the continuance, but what part of my line of questioning was, what can be changed? What more can you do with this project, or how can you alter the project that would help me understand the purpose of that continuance?
Thank you, Mayor O'Neill. So just to be clear, we do have 4 or 5 public hearings on every agenda through January. So if we continue, we'll either have to talk to the city manager about adding additional case or moving a case. It will push something probably.
All right, so what we'll do is we will grant the motion to continue, and we will ask you to confer with your manager about what date is appropriate, and you may relay that to the applicant, if that's fine.
Sorry, Grace Smith with the Planning Department. I think if that's the situation and if the manager agrees, we probably should refer it back to staff.
We will
and
refer
we'll
it
find
back
a
to staff.
date and come back then. How about that?
All right. So we'll refer it back to staff, and staff will confer with you all on an appropriate date. All right. Thank you so much for your time tonight. We will now turn to item 24, which is the Consolidated Annexation Brier Creek Act, and we will hear first from our staff as this is a zoning case.
All right, good evening. Thank you, Mayor O'Neill and Mayor Pro Tem Middleton and council members. We received a request for a utility extension agreement, voluntary annexation, and initial zoning map change from Joseph McMelly of CSH Brier Creek ACT for 5 parcels of land totaling around 16 acres and located at 3618, 3620, 3702, 3708, and 3802 Page Road. This annexation petition is for a contiguous expansion of the primary corporate limits. The current zoning is residential rural. The applicant proposes to change this designation to PDR 13.367 to allow for the construction of up to 210 single-family, townhouse, and multifamily units. The rezoning request, case Z2220, received a recommendation of denial from the Durham Planning Commission on June 13th by a tie vote of 6-6. Subsequent to Planning Commission, the applicant added an affordable housing commitment, which is 6 units at 80% AMI for a 30-year tenure, added a commitment for a minimum number of multifamily units and a minimum number of townhouse units, and modified the road improvements based on DDOT and NCDOT feedback. The properties are currently designated industrial on the future land use map. The proposed PDR 13.367 is inconsistent with this designation. If the proposed zoning is approved, staff recommend a change to the future land use map to medium-high density residential. Thank you. Staff and the applicant team are available for any questions this evening.
Thank you. You have heard the report from staff, and I'm now going to declare this public hearing open. First, are there any questions for staff from members of the council? Seeing none, we will now move to our applicant, Mr. Ghosh. Mr. Ghosh, we only have, I think, 2 speakers, so we'll start you off with 5 minutes.
All right, I'll try to get it done in that time. Good evening, Mayor O'Neill, Mayor Pro Tem Middleton, and members of the City Council. I am Neil Ghosh, an attorney at the Morningstar Law Group at 700 West Main Street, and I'm here representing Capital Seniors Housing, the developer working on this for-rent residential project along Page Road in Southeast Durham. I'm joined by Joe McIlway, one of the principals of Capital Seniors Housing, as well as Kelsey Westwood and Earl Wellen, our civil and traffic engineers with Kimley Horn. CSH, or Capital Seniors Housing, is a senior housing development and management company with over 20 years of experience developing communities that serve active senior residents. Currently, CSH manages more than 120 senior communities across basically every major MSA in the nation. So, I guess it's safe to say they've done this before. The proposal before you tonight is to rezone a little over 16 acres of land off Page Road to PDR 13.367. This is near the Bethpage neighborhood by the county line. What we are looking at is a multifamily community with up to 210 residential units. This is a fully rental community, but there are different unit types within the development. There will be traditional stacked flat apartments, but there also will be units which resemble townhomes. I think we've committed to a minimum of 168 multifamily units and a minimum of 18 units which resemble townhomes at the full build out. This is a really great infill spot for a couple of reasons. It utilizes existing traffic signal at Page Road and World Trade Boulevard. That traffic infrastructure already is in place. The other thing is that the stub out from Bethpage on Core Street, from the proposed development, you can use that stub. You can walk or bike to the Goat, which is a nearby restaurant. I don't know if you've been, it's fantastic. And as staff has mentioned, this project is inconsistent with the future land use map, which is industrial, but the place type map shows this as mixed residential neighborhood, and we're providing traditional apartment style units and townhome style units for rent in an area that already has a variety of other housing as well. The other thing I want to touch on is the need for senior housing of this type. To my knowledge, there only is one other senior housing rental project in Durham. It's the Overture off Farrington Road. Furthermore, this site is well chosen by CSH because of its proximity to healthcare, the airport, and retail services, which makes this location ideal for active senior residents. Moreover, this project is next to Creekside at Bethpage, which is an age-targeted ownership neighborhood. Our feedback from residents there is that they look forward to having an option to age in place when they need to move on from owning a home and the obligations that go along with that, they can move into a rental community and still stay within the same area. We did receive what I would call a rare 6-6 recommendation of denial from the Planning Commission, but I would encourage you to consider the comments that we received from the planning commissioners. Of note was the lack of any commitments to affordable housing. After the Planning Commission, we did add that commitment. We have committed to 6 affordable housing units at the 80% AMI level for a period of 30 years, with at least half of those units having 2 or more bedrooms. Another comment from the Planning Commissioners, a comment of concern, relates to utility capacity. And I would say this is understandable because at the time it went to Planning Commission, the staff report mentioned that there was a hold placed on development in the Stirrup Iron Creek Basin while the county completed some pump station evaluations. That hold was placed in November of 21, but in December of 22, the county confirmed that the hold had been lifted and there is capacity for this particular project, and I believe that's been updated in the staff report. To be fair to staff, yeah, it's updated in the staff report. Sorry about that. We believe this rezoning will facilitate a high-quality retirement community that will more than adequately provide for the needs of the growing number of seniors in Durham. And for all these reasons, we respectfully ask for your recommendation, for your approval tonight on this zoning map change, and our team is happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Ghosh. Actually, Mr. Chavis was the only person that was going to speak, and he is not going to speak. So if you need any more remaining time, you're, okay. All right, then. I don't think, let me just check in with the clerk, that we have any speakers online. All right, thank you so much. I will now declare this public hearing to be closed and the matter is back before council for any questions of our applicant. Councilwoman Holsey-Hyman.
Good evening. Did you say that this is it a 55 and over community? Because I thought they can't do that anymore. In terms
It is a age-targeted community. I'm not sure. So the Federal Fair Housing Act does allow for 55-plus communities still, to my knowledge. I feel like staff is about to say something. But.
Thank you, Councilmember Holsey-Hyman. Great question. So under the Fair Housing Act, they can still do 55-plus housing. We no longer allow them as zoning commitments because we're one of the comprehensive plan policies encouraging intergenerational housing.
Thank you for the clarity. I knew it was something. I couldn't remember what. And you said they did add the affordable housing piece?
Yes, they did. 6 units at 80% AMI for a 30-year period.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think this is a strong project. I'm going to be supporting it. What's interesting, I read the Planning Commission comments in the no's on this. Either they've been addressed, or at least the ones I see, or tend towards those kind of universal, kind of abstract, kind of philosophical things that they've been against in general. But very strong, I think, addressing of the affordable housing component. It indeed is a niche that we need to address more active aging in our community. Particularly since I'm getting closer to that. So very, very grateful for it. So I look forward to supporting this project. Thank you.
Councilwoman Caballero, followed by Councilwoman Freeman.
Thank you. Since this is a for rent senior, I'll be supporting it. In general, I'm not a fan of 55-plus communities. I feel like we do, I appreciate that in the comp plan we are doing intergenerational, that is the goal, and I strongly believe that. But I also recognize what you said about there's only one other rental. I feel like it does isolate certain communities, and long-term, I don't think it gets us where we need to be, which is, for our community's sake, it's good to have our seniors, just like with affordable, we need everything, everywhere, to have a real community. That is my personal belief, but I also recognize that we don't have a lot of for rent. So I will be approving this, but I look forward to passing the comp plan and having that guideline.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask a little bit more about the single flat stacked. Does that include an elevator?
The traditional stack flat apartments, it does include an elevator, yes.
I'm a little bit, but in In context of JFK, I'm a little bit concerned about limiting it to 55 and older, just knowing that I have some concerns about putting folks.
So it's not limited to 50. This is age targeted. That's what they build. I'm not suggesting otherwise, but it's not limited by any zoning condition to 55 plus.
Okay, that was the main thing. And then just another question, stronger affordable housing, just thinking about the limitation of the 30 years. Is there a reason why it's 30, not 45 or 90?
Oh, so the 30-year, we actually pulled, that's follows the definition of affordable housing in the UDO. So we were following the guideline in the city in that regard.
And then also just acknowledging 21 units would be 10%. Any way you can get anywhere closer to making it a stronger affordable housing?
Yeah, I appreciate what you're saying, and I have talked to my clients about it. This is not a traditional apartment community, which I've represented many, and they are, in those types of communities, they're able to get, at least in my experience, I've been able to, let's say, coax my clients into providing some more affordable housing. This is more of a specialized niche product, much more difficult for them to get into, more affordable units or into lower AMI. And as far as I know, there is not a private for rent, single family, 55 plus community in not only in Durham, in the Triangle, that isn't a LIHTC project that has affordable units in it. Personally speaking, I think this is a pretty big step in the right direction for this type of housing.
I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask.
I appreciate that.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, council, we have 3 motions for our consideration. The first motion that I will entertain is to adopt an ordinance annexing Brier Creek ACT into the city of Durham effective December 31st, 2023, and to authorize the city manager to enter into a utility extension agreement with CSH Brier Creek ACT LLC.
Moved as read.
Second.
Been moved by Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by Councilman Williams. Madam Clerk, if you will open the vote. If you will close the vote and report out. Our second motion for consideration is to adopt an ordinance amending the Unified Development Ordinance by taking property out of the residential rural county jurisdiction and establishing the same as planned development residential 13.367 city jurisdiction.
Moved as read.
Second.
Been moved by Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by Councilman Williams. Madam Clerk, if you will open the vote. If you will close the vote and report out.
The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. The final motion for our consideration on this matter is to adopt a consistency statement as required by NCGS 160D-605.
Move to adopt consistency.
Second.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by Councilman Williams. Madam Clerk, if you will open the vote. If you will close the vote and report out.
And the last motion passes unanimously.
Thank you so much. We will now turn our attention to our final public hearing is item number 25, is the Consolidated Annexation Smallwood Townhouses. And this is a zoning case, and we are ready to hear from our staff.
Good evening. Thank you again, Mayor O'Neill. A request for a utility extension agreement, initial zoning map change, and voluntary annexation was received from William Barker of Holly Springs Associates for 1 parcel of land and portions of 2 other parcels of land totaling around 10 acres and located at 2700 block of Page Road and 100 block of Smallwood Drive. This annexation petition is for a contiguous expansion of the primary corporate limits. The current zoning is residential rural, and the applicant proposes to change this designation to Planned Development Residential 7.405. This is to allow for the construction of up to 72 townhouse units. The concurrent zoning request, KZ 2231, received a recommendation of approval from the Planning Commission on July 11th, 2023 by a vote of 11-1. At the Planning Commission meeting, the applicant proffered the following commitments. A minimum commitment that 5% of the final unit count shall be designated as income restricted for 80% AMI for a period of 30 years. There'll be a contribution to Durham Public Schools in the amount of $14,000, and the dedication of an easement on the property to the project boundary, which provides access to the cemetery on site. The properties are currently designated industrial on the future land use map. The proposed PDR residential 7.405 zoning is inconsistent with the designated use shown on the future land use map. If this proposed zoning is approved, staff recommended changing the designation to medium density residential. Both the erosion and sediment control amendment that became effective May 23rd and October 1st, and the phased grading and tree preservation amendment would apply to this case as well. This means a 10-foot no-grade buffer will be required at the time of site plan. Thank you. Staff and the applicant team are available to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. You've now heard the report from staff, and I will declare this public hearing open. First, are there any questions for staff from our council members? Councilwoman Freeman.
Just one question. Just considering the topography in this area, would you consider that this might be a blasting site?
I can't opine on that, but the applicant should be able to speak to that. There are Triassic soils underneath.
Any other questions from colleagues? All right, we will hear from our applicant, Mr. Ghosh. Mr. Ghosh, and I believe there is one resource person on, so I'm taking that we will probably not hear from him and online, and we do have one person here, Ms. Tanya Powell, who will be speaking as an opponent. So you may have the time that you need, sir.
All right, and good evening, Mayor O'Neill again, and Mayor Pro Tem Middleton, members of the City Council. I am Neil Ghosh, an attorney with the Morningstar Law Group. Our address is on file. I'm representing the applicant on this rezoning case, which is Holly Springs Associates. I believe we also have Danny Howell, who is a civil engineer. He's available online, I believe. And I want to thank Mr. Cahill for the presentation of the project. I'll try not to be repetitive. Instead, I want to tell you the story of this project. This rezoning includes one whole parcel, which is currently owned by my client, and parts of two other parcels, each of which is owned by the adjacent All Saints United Methodist Church. This area of the city actually is not within any watershed protection overlay. When the church was built, probably in the last 10 years or so, it was under 24% impervious, so no stormwater control measures were required. That is to say that currently there are no stormwater control measures for the church. Though it's not reflected on the development plan, the deal this developer worked out with the church is that the developer will create a shared stormwater facility which will treat the church as impervious as well as this project. This is, I would say, pretty unique, but it's also a readily identifiable public benefit. And as you can see, the church will remain in ownership of several more acres of land. The shared stormwater control measure could allow the church more easily to expand its facility on the land it already owns. And to be clear, we're not aware of any future expansion plans for the church, although my understanding is the developer also would be providing a pavilion. Again, that's not in the development plan, that's just the deal they worked out with the church. But the point of all this is to say that this project is making the church's leftover land a lot more usable for the church. I also learned that this is not the first time that this type of thing has been done in Durham. The Montclair community in Southwest Durham has had a similar benefit for the Barbies Chapel Harvest Word Church. That was a 2013 rezoning case where the bishop acknowledged that the applicant was going to be providing stormwater runoff pond that would cover anticipated runoff requirements for additional improvements and would provide easy access and connect to the sewer. More about this project, though. This is a townhome project at 7.405 dwelling units per acre, which is quite dense. The project will provide a maximum of 72 for-sale townhomes, and we have committed to 5% as affordable for-sale units at the 80% AMI level. We think these commitments are the best ways to provide community benefits in this area. Both affordable housing and also the infrastructure improvements directly benefit the existing community institution. This site, as was mentioned by Councilmember Freeman, is not without challenges. We have a fair amount of slope to deal with. The proposed location of the shared stormwater facility is about 50 feet lower in elevation than the front of the site up by Page Road. The existing church, which is much closer to where the proposed pond would go than is Page Road, so the existing church is about 40 feet higher than where this pond is going to go. So there's a lot of topo here. In the grand scheme of things, the project is not that large, but it does have a fair amount of necessary infrastructure. There are improvements that would be required for pretty much any development of this site, but even still, this project provides additional right-of-way for Page Road, a new left turn lane on Page Road, and a new right turn lane on Page Road. It also provides a 10-foot wide shared use path along Page Road. And I know the staff report mentions that transportation requested the developer to provide off-site sidewalk. We are not making that proffer, but we did take a look at it. There is a cemetery along Page Road where the off-site sidewalk was requested. So yes, we did decline to make a commitment for that off-site sidewalk, given that it would require graves to be moved. What we did instead, and this was based on Commissioner Cease's recommendation at the Planning Commission, we provided a 20-foot public access easement on our property that will jog around the back of the cemetery, which ultimately will allow a continuous sidewalk around the back of the cemetery when that parcel to the south is developed. So I think ultimately you would be able to achieve a continuous sidewalk. The project received an overwhelming recommendation of approval from the Planning Commission by a vote of 11-1. Since then, we've only added more commitments to the plan based on their feedback, like that access way around the cemetery. So we hope to have your support tonight, and our team is available to answer any questions you may have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Ghosh. We will hear from Ms. Tanya Powell.
Good evening. I'm with the Maynard Nexon firm in Raleigh, and I was here last year almost on the exact same date to talk to you about a very similar project that was a residential project near the FedEx ground hub over on South Austin Avenue. And so I'm really back here to express the same concerns this evening as this property is abuts to the north of this site is a FedEx ground facility. Not really here to be a proponent or an opponent, more just here to express that there are always concerns when you put residential this close to an industrial use. This is a 24/7 facility. It has the majority of the trucks are loaded between the hours of 3 a.m. and 9 a.m. It uses both inbound and outbound 53-foot trailers, most of which arrive and or depart between the hours of 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. In total, if you look at the total vehicle count that's estimated at this facility, the highest arrivals are between the hours of 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. And, you know, when you have the trucks coming in and out, you're going to have the dock noises, the truck noises, the noises of hooking the trailers to the trucks, the loading and unloading, brakes, beepers. And this high use time for a FedEx facility is also during the time when the city's noise ordinance changes, the permitted noise levels change. So again, just want everyone to be aware, in addition to the noise, there are light issues, because when the trucks go in and out in the middle of the night, they have lights shining in and out of the residential units. So just always want to make sure everyone's aware that this is an ongoing use. We have the buffer that's required on our side of the property, but short of either distance or a wall, it's hard for these two uses to be beside each other and somebody on the residential side not notice they're beside a FedEx hub. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Powell. Would you like some rebuttal time, Attorney Ghosh?
I'll just address it quickly. So I appreciate the comments from the previous speaker, and we're aware of the FedEx location. I generally am not a strong proponent of having residential next to industrial uses. However, this is not an industrial use, which creates a lot of noxious gases, noises, chemicals. I mean, it is a 24-hour facility that will be in use. We're aware of that. It does seem like a facility beside which a residential community could thrive. And in fact, there are several residential communities in the area. As the speaker mentioned, I think she was here about a year ago, about another project in the area that's probably being built right now. And there are other residential developments along Page Road and Smallwood specifically. So I appreciate the comments, and we've taken into consideration and believe that this project still is bestowing more housing for the city in general, affordable housing, and some unique infrastructure upgrades for the existing community institution in the All Saints Church. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Ghosh. Madam Clerk, do you see any other speakers? All right. I will now declare.
I think there may be some other speakers in the audience. Sorry to interrupt. Do we have other speakers?
I have no other cards.
Did they leave or are they still? All right. A couple members from the church
That are in the audience. Great. Thank you. I will now declare this public hearing to be closed unless those persons would like to sign a card to speak, since Attorney Ghosh recognizes who they are. Okay. Well, the public hearing is now closed, and this matter is now back before council. Questions for, okay, and I think Councilwoman Freeman and then Councilwoman Caballero.
Thank you. I did have a couple of questions for Ms. I just know Tina, I'm sorry. I didn't catch the last name. Powell. Ms. Powell, I just wanted to hear, because I did get a chance to drive around this area and it is concerning. Are you receiving any complaints from the residential neighborhoods that are nearby now?
I am not aware of any that are in existence now. This one's closer than the ones that are in existence now, so that's concerning to us as well. But I'm not aware of any current complaints.
Okay, that was the main thing. And then, Mr. Ghosh, for that cemetery easement around the back, is there a plan to put any material back there, or is it just an easement? Like, is there going to be some asphalt down, or?
So we talked about that. We're providing the easement, and there's a specific reason for that. The parcel to the south is owned by the church, and the access easement we're providing, where it would end up, is outside of the right-of-way. So it's not a location where the city, for example, could implement sidewalk.
Yeah.
So we're not building the sidewalk across either the property to the south nor in the location on we're building the sidewalk up to the end of that access easement on Page Road, but not where it jogs back away from Page Road.
Would you be, well, I guess if the applicant would be amenable to kind of looking at just acknowledging that if there's no sidewalk connection for that area, it could get grown over. It might be helpful to have some asphalt or other materials down.
I don't think that'd be an issue. I think the issue is more of a location. So what we're doing is providing a 20-foot wide access easement, and I believe the path would be 5 foot wide. It might be a 10-foot wide. Within the 20-foot, it's a question of location, where it would go. If we install the sidewalk, it would be fixed, and I'm not sure that that's the best solution, but let me check with my clients about building the sidewalk in that access easement.
Or even just like if it's a bike path, because it's still walkable.
I'm sorry?
Even if it's just a bike path, because it's still walkable, it doesn't necessarily need to be cement, is what I'm saying. Like, it could just.
Oh, like paved or, yeah. I understand. I just want, do you, any issue with actually installing pervious, pavement or in that access easement? If you give me 1 second. Okay, so can't commit to it right now because they have not run any impervious surface calculation that would accommodate that, so don't know how that would impact the project. In theory, I mean, the goal here is to provide the access, but don't know how the impervious would impact.
I understand that. And then just along the lines of it being much closer to the FedEx facility, is there any consideration for the wall for the residents in that community?
Any consideration for the wall? I mean,
for the wall that Ms. Powell suggested?
Oh.
Waste.
We hadn't considered the wall. I mean, we hadn't considered putting a wall in, and I guess this is the first time that I'm hearing a suggestion that a wall be installed.
It would dampen the sound.
No, I understand, and we hadn't considered that. And I'm getting some I don't think that would be possible.
Thank you. Those are my questions.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Caballero?
Thank you. I had a question for Ms. Powell really quickly. Did you happen to go to the Planning Commission public hearing?
We were not able to attend that hearing.
Okay. I would, so this applicant made several proffers based on that, and I think that for the concerns that you have, which I hear you, it would be helpful because maybe like this wall could have potentially been proffered because they would have had a time to really price it and see if it's something that they could have committed to. But at this late of a juncture, they don't really have that capacity because that's kind of a big ask. So that would be my one, some guidance is potentially try and go to the Planning Commission because it gives the applicant a little bit of time in these circumstances if there's something that they can proffer.
And we've been in conversations with the Planning Department since well before the Planning Commission hearing. We just didn't have anybody who could be in town and attend. But we've been, and the concerns we expressed were not new for this site. I mean, it's just, we have engineers who do this, and the only way to stop sound is distance or a solid structure, and that's why I mention a wall. It's just the laws of physics. That's just what's
we don't have anything indicating anything in our packet, so this is the first time we heard about it, because if it had been in a planning commission and had been raised there maybe would have been something from one of our planning commissioners, or it would have been raised in previous conversations, so we have to make a decision tonight.
Oh, and I understand that, and without a sound test that's being done, which I doubt has been done here, was not done on the South Austin. I'm not sure how much impact it would make, but the sound test isn't required either. That's a voluntary step.
Mayor Pro Tem?
I'm sorry, I had a quick question for Alexander. Sorry. And I apologize if I missed it. On the earlier case, you shared what the place type was going to be, because I get that the flume is changing, but I want to know what because that's all changing. So.
I believe, yes, 1 second here.
Thank you.
It is community institution is the place type identified for this area.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just very quickly, I think the Planning Commission got this one right. I will be supporting this project. I think it's the right type of development in this area. And Ms. Powell, for whatever it's worth, our job is not to protect business people from making bad decisions. If I go into a house and I hear voices from the wall saying, "Get out," I'm not buying that house. So when folk are shopping, if they see a big industrial complex near it, and it's up to them whether or not if they want to put something that's unsellable, that's certainly up to them. But there are housing complexes around fire stations and emergency rooms with sirens blaring all night. So I think, and the distance as well, there's a significant tree line out there as well. So I appreciate your comments, but that's their problem if they get it wrong and build an unsellable product. But I think the Planning Commission got this one right. I'll be supporting this project. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councilwoman Holsey-Hyman?
Just really quick, did you say $14,000 for school?
I didn't mention it tonight, but that is on the plan, yeah.
Oh, what did you say? You didn't mention it, but,
I
okay.
didn't mention it tonight, but it is in the development plan, yes.
Just the calculation of that 14,000, depending on what was the increase of the students in that area?
I can't tell you for sure how that was calculated. I assume it was the way we regularly calculate it, but I don't, if you're quizzing me, I don't know the answer right now.
Thank you. It's low.
Yeah, it looks like it was the same calculation that has been used in several other cases, which is a 500 per additional student that is projected in the staff report. And Alexander, I wanted to ask, I have the future place type map as both community institution and apartment townhome. And I wanted to make sure if that was incorrect or.
That's correct. There's actually been a lot of discussion about this.
Okay.
A small portion of it is apartment and townhouse.
Okay,
Thank you for clarifying.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Attorney Ghosh? Councilwoman Freeman.
Not a question, just a note. Just the area that I observed, I think that a community site that was used before 11 p.m. would be really beneficial in this area. Just acknowledging there's not a lot of commercial and there's a whole lot of residential. And I'm not certain that this is going to work. And so I can't support it this evening, but I do want to say that I think it's a great first step. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. Colleagues, we have 3 motions for our consideration. The first is to adopt an ordinance annexing Smallwood Townhouses into the city of Durham effective December 31st, 2023, and to authorize the city manager to enter into a utility extension agreement with Holly Springs Associates LLC.
Moved as read.
Second.
Been moved by Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by Councilwoman Freeman. Madam Clerk, if you will open the vote. If you would close the vote and report out.
The motion passes 6-1.
The second motion for our consideration is to adopt an ordinance amending the Unified Development Ordinance.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Madam Mayor. The vote was 6-1 with Councilmember Freeman voting no.
Thank you. The second motion for our consideration is to adopt an ordinance amending the Unified Development Ordinance by taking property out of the residential rural county jurisdiction and establishing the same as planned development residential 7.405 city jurisdiction.
Moved as read.
Second.
It's been moved by Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by Councilman Williams. Madam Clerk, if you would open the vote, please. And if you will close the vote and report out.
And again, the motion is 6-1 with Councilmember Freeman voting no.
The final motion for our consideration on this matter is to adopt a consistency statement as required by North Carolina General Statute 160D-605.
Move to adopt consistency.
Second.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem, seconded by Councilwoman Williams. Madam Clerk, if you will please open the vote. And if you will please close the vote and report out.
And the motion passes 7-0.
Thank you so much. We have reached the end of our agenda other than other matters. Are there any other matters that will claim our attention this evening from colleagues? All right. Just a quick reminder about tomorrow night, National Night Out. Please join us all over the city for a celebration and come together for neighbors and law enforcement and fun and gala and food. So we stand adjourned at
Madam Mayor, if I might, I just want to thank you again and congratulate you on what is a pretty historic night. I don't know when we'll have an opportunity to see that collection of folk that have meant so much to our city's history in one place again in this way. So I want to thank you for a wonderful and historic night with the presentation of the keys. It's a beautiful night. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and I'd like to thank each of you who decided to join us this evening for pictures and the presentation. So thanks to my colleagues who were here tonight, and we stand adjourned at 10:16 on the 2nd of October, 2023. Bull City strong.